Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Daily Combat Podcast. This is Hollywood McConnelly with the double biceps and legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. The co-host, co-founder, co-breather of air, co-wearer of clothes in this very room. It is, in fact, winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award. It is the master of a disaster, the Count of Monte Cristo, the king of Sting, Thunderlips, the ultimate male. It is, in fact, Dave Stockbridge, the man himself. Welcome to your own show.
Well, thank you very much for that very warm welcome to the Daily Combat Podcast. Every week, Hollywood Matt Connolly, you never fail to disappoint. And we are joined, of course, today by the doyen, we did say doyen last time, didn't we?
Yeah, the jiu-jitsu expert.
A jiu-jitsu expert, world-renowned martial arts. What did we go with last time? Banger. Rich, wow. The Banger Warner. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Rich Warner. Rich Warner is an MMA commentator and fresh off the back of DFC 16, which we're just scanning through some of the highlights of right now, and we'll take you through the whole card during the course of take you through the whole card and get some of Rich's insights into not just DFC, but the whole world of local MMA and some recent announcements in the world of PFL as well as the new seasons rolling out. And what's some of the biggest news to come out of those announcements as far as you're concerned, Rich Warner?
Well, should we hold off on it or should we go straight in?
No, let's go straight in. Let's
well,
delve in.
South Australia's best known fighter, doyen. I want to use the word doyen because I just love it. I'll have to look up what it means later. I don't know.
I'm not even
really
sure.
Good.
Are you stalling because you don't know who South Australia's best known fighter is?
Pretty much.
The best known fighter, the one that
Henry,
the guy,
yeah,
who fights and does that thing.
Well, Shane Mitchell, Cardioflex, OG, Triple A, anywhere, anytime, any place. For a long time, he's been at the top of the heap of South Australian fighters, and it's been, a lot of talk. What was that?
So much.
he drunk it like it was coffee without realising it was scotch.
Yes.
So much.
Cheers to real estate.
Cheers to our sponsor,
Lemmy
Largo, and of course our friends at Roll Clean. Cheers to you all and to all of our viewers. We hope you're playing along at home.
So much stronger than I thought.
Every time we say doyen, have another drink.
That's the.
So, look, Triple A, Shane Mitchell, a lot of talk for many, many years. I remember when I first got to Cardioflex 9 years ago now, the talk was, dude, he's had such a succession, a huge long run of victories, no losses. He'd fought the who's who. His second fight fought, Kim
Johnson?
Sorry, it wasn't Kim. It was...
Kim Jong-il.
He was a superstar from Riker's gym. Charles August. Charles August. Shout out to Charles August.
Was it Charles August?
It was Charles August, yeah. My memory, Matt, it's terrible. If I haven't got notes, it's like, Matt, what was the name of that guy again? He fought Charles August in his second fight. Just an absolute beast. That's probably his only loss that he's ever had, except for there was one quite a few fights ago. But he's been talking to the UFC. There's been a lot of contract negotiations, a lot of chatter, a lot of management changes. Ike has, of course, been his manager from day dot. And big call. I've got a shout out to Craig Ike from Cardioflex, head coach there, of course, in his humility, in that he's happy to give up his best fighter to a different manager to try and look for the best opportunity for that specific fighter, as opposed to holding on and obviously he's still going to be the head coach, but he's tried lots of different things, and we've all tried lots of different things to contact certain people. At one championship, UFC. He's been in a lot of talks for a long time, and finally, Ike got a hold of an amazing, quite a good talent manager, and a guy who's got other rostered fighters fighting under PFL. And apparently a few weeks ago they had a nice little chat and got the boys and sat down in a restaurant and signed a contract. It's been under wraps. We've been on to, do not talk about this until it's absolutely, signed on both ends and so forth, and everybody's happy to go ahead. But the big announcement, of course, is that Shane has just signed to the PFL.
Wow.
Yeah, so
what an opportunity!
On the big stage,
absolutely incredible. Massive.
And it's great. There are a few athletes that have earned that position as much as Shane as well. I mean, he's consistently been at the top of the pecking order, the man to beat for years now, and everybody's been scratching their head wondering why it is that he hasn't been able to work his way into that top echelon, and now it's finally happening.
He's been thereabouts for so long, and they've come back and they said, look, we need you to get a couple more fights, and then, he's just had an amazing career, and just knocking on the door quite a few years ago, about 3 years ago, and he fought for the DFC title, or to stay the title holder, and he got beaten by this huge hulk of a man, who I definitely think had been using quite a few syringes in the background, and really took Shane down, and obviously it was at that point where he really changed, not camps, but really added the camp in terms of going under Matt Jones as well as a submission grappling coach as well.
ISO Health?
Under ISO Health, exactly, yeah. So really, it's quite maybe 3-4 years specifically, training just in submission grappling, and his game has improved. My goodness, we've seen it happen in the 4 or 5 fights since that point. He's a knockout artist, but geez, he's quite comfortable to take things onto the ground and slick moves when he's down there. So, huge congratulations to Shane Triple A Mitchell.
Well done,
lots of love from the podcast. And we're messaging Shane. We're messaging him now to say, hey, we want you on next week's podcast. What do you reckon, guys?
We'd love to see Shane here. Yeah, for sure. So we're very close on having Shane on the podcast recently, and this news hadn't yet been made public, and but we knew it was on the radar, and had our fingers and toes crossed. So we were waiting until such time as the news became public, and we were hoping it might be a Daily Combat exclusive, but I think it's well and truly out there now. So we can't wait to have Shane on the podcast and sharing some of his story and what it's taken to now get to the PFL. So and very exciting times, and a big 3 or 4 months ahead for Shane and Ike, and very exciting for the whole crew there at Cardioflex.
Yeah. I think it's going to be like, he's fighting in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. So I think it's in April 10th, I think it might be.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch it, guys, get onto Stan Sport. If you haven't got a subscription in Stan, get your subscription. Of course, you'll get to see all of last year's and the previous year's winners. Of course, from HTC, Hobart Training Centre, who we've got a real good, strong connection with in terms of DFC, because we've had quite a few of Hobart and Tasmanian fighters come over the years. And one of probably the big gun from HTC is Rob Wilkinson, who of course won $1 million in about October of last year under the PFL. So
incredible.
He's really set the stage for Aussie fighters under the PFL. And Shane Mitchell is number 3, I think, Australian fighter. The other one was Antonio Caruso. Only about 2 or 3 weeks ago, fought his first fight and he lost. Didn't do amazingly well, but shout out to South Australian boy Tony Caruso to get in there and give it his best shot. And he's one of a great mainstays of South Australian MMA, Tony Caruso, so hat off to you. But we're really looking forward to April 10th. Stan Sport, everybody, to watch Shane Mitchell. I think he's got 4 fights, I believe. Now, I could be wrong here, guys, but I believe it's like a 4-fight format.
Tell us about the PFL. Well, no, can you tell us a little bit about the PFL for the people that aren't up to date on what that is?
It's like the opposite to UFC in many ways. Like, they haven't gone by the same kind of system of scoring. Haven't
knock
gone
yourself out, and that
counts. That's a win for you.
It does.
It's really weird. They've gone with this, instead of like, there's been huge talk about, do the fighters get enough pay in the UFC, and a lot of controversy, and Mark Hunt and so forth, putting up these big legal battles to try and fight against the big boy in the UFC, the big company, and unsuccessfully, no one's been able to do what they, get some good rights and advocacy from the UFC. So I believe that birthed the PFL. Okay. They came from the WSOF, World Series of Fighting, and they bought that out and have turned everything on its head and come up with $1 million prize money.
Wow.
So 6 divisions, and of course the light heavyweight and the lightweight and welterweight, I believe, is coming up on the same day, the April 10th show. There's 8 fighters in each division, and it's a knockout basis. So sort 8 fighters will become 4, 4 will become 2, and then those 2 will fight off for $1 million check.
Wow. Is that both for both divisions? The lightweight will have
Each
$1 million.
one, yeah.
Wow.
So
And
last
do those
year-
fights happen on the same day, or is it part of this?
They've changed it this
Right.
year, I believe. But
Yep.
previously, you'd have your 8 fighters become 4, and then those 4 fighters they would fight. So that would be the preliminary, say, and then the quarterfinal. You'd have 2 fights on one night, and this is really interesting. Probably a good talking point, especially for you, Hollywood, because in that 2 fights on one night.
Yeah.
To legalise it, you can't have a fighter have any more than 5 rounds in a day.
Oh.
Right?
Really?
Under the jurisdiction, the MMA
Is
combat
that
rules, right?
Nevada State
So how do you have
Commission?
2 fights if you when it's got to be a 3-rounded odd, not an even, but an odd, as in three rounds for judging.
So the promoters are just keeping their fingers crossed for knockouts.
What they did do is they made it a 2-round system. But this how do you judge a 2-round system? There's 2 rounds, and say one guy wins the first round, the other guy wins the second round.
Yeah, slap fighting.
So what they did is they gave whoever was awarded the first round wins the fight.
Wow, really? That's an interesting.
So it doesn't
decision.
matter so much about the second round. Yeah.
Why? Oh man,
That's
is that
what you used to
Nevada? Are they doing it in Nevada?
I think somewhere around there. I'm not quite exactly sure.
I've never heard that rule before. I'm surprised.
Crazy,
that,
right?
Yeah.
And they had all these weird sort of things where they'd have the celebrities vote. So the commentators, you had some.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
Ray Sefo is the guy who's running the whole thing. If I mention Ray Sefo, you're going to give me a few stories. Like the time he fought Mark Hunt. And Mark Hunt's just got his head going, come on, hit me. And he's just taking punches going, come on, smack. Yeah. And then he would hit Ray Sefo back, and Ray Sefo will pull his hands down, just take a few on the chin, go, come on, is that all you've got?
Yeah, legend of the sport,
awesome.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so Ray Sefo, was running the whole show. So they used to have a celebrity vote on who they thought won the fight, and then they would have
Could you
an
text
audience
in as
vote.
well?
Yes,
Oh, you
yes,
could.
that's
Are you
exactly
serious?
what
Could
they
text
for the
in.
audience. Anyone in the world, you'd put in the number,
Like
and
Australian
and
Idol.
you'd say exactly like Australian
Wow.
Idol, and 55% of the audience vote goes to X fighter, and
Oh my God.
and it's done on points as well. So I think in
It's
kind of
don't
really.
like that.
I had to do a bit of homework to try and work it out, and I still don't quite
Yeah.
understand what's going on. Yeah.
So have they reformed this, or how have they iterated it for PFL now?
Well, they've changed it from last year. Instead of having the 2 fights on one night, so you'd fight the first preliminary, and then those 4 people would fight twice in 2 rounds, and then they'd wait 3 months, do another training camp, and fight for the championship. Now it's each one. It's only one fight per night, so you've got a
It's much
separate
smarter.
training camp. So I suppose it's a whole year process to get to the championship $1 million fight.
There's a few points.
It's only 4.
There's a few things that
so close.
I'd love to. A few things I don't like.
Let's talk.
Yeah. One, I don't. Wow. It's cool they're doing it. I think it's amazing. And $1 million prize. And let's hope Shane Mitchell
That's good.
gets,
We can't
gets
argue
the
with
money.
$1 million.
That's incredible. And a great opportunity for the fighters. That's awesome. They're doing something different. I love that. Thing I don't like about it.
Here we go.
Yeah. I don't like tournament format at all. I think that most of the time, even if they do multiple fights on one night, usually somebody gets hurt and they can't continue, and they get an alternate that steps in last minute and they win the bloody title without having fought anyone else. Or even
so
if
much can go wrong.
That's right. That's
what
right.
are you thinking? There's so much money on the line, and
Exactly.
dude.
Yeah. Plus, with they did that with Strikeforce as well, where they had the heavyweight Grand Prix sort of thing, and it was a tournament format, which Daniel Cormier ended up winning.
It's very old school thinking.
Was he driving a car?
No, but this
Grand Prix.
this was one of those things where they did one fight
Mortal
every
Kombat
3
movie.
months sort of thing. The problem with that, so Daniel came in as an alternate. The same thing happened, even over that tournament structure spread over, I think it was 9 months. They still had their first round, and then the guys that won the fight, they were injured, couldn't compete in the second round. So Daniel Cormier stepped in, and he won the second round, third round, and won the title. But it was even over that format, these matchups just keep changing last minute, and it's
It's almost the winner is the person who's least injured
much.
in the way through
and
to it, isn't it?
what an advantage.
So why have they done that? Do you think that's to create a spectacle, or to deliberately plant some landlines so that there's some excitement and there's some conjecture and there's always a chance of anybody could win, like everybody's got a puncher's chance almost?
You aren't creating a system where anybody has the opportunity to win based on the fact that maybe their opponent that they're fighting might be way better than they are, but because they've had a really tough first round against their first opponent, you might actually beat them. And plus you're building in your own storyline with that. So if you've got 2 previous rounds going into the title for $1 million, you've got 4 fights to pull from for your story to build that. Whereas before that, if you've got 2 unknowns to the general public or mainstream.
There's also this weird thing as well where they're done on points as well. So I think if you knock out or you finish the fight in the first round, you get, I think it's 6 points. You get an extra 3 points for finishing it in the first. If you finish it in the second round, you'll get 5 points. And in the third, you'll get 4. The loser will get nothing. And then they'll rank them. So they'll go, oh, this guy's number 1 because he's got the most points. And so 1 will fight number 8. Almost like the AFL Grand Finals series. So 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7 and so forth, I believe it is. So, by the way, I should also say that we don't know who Shane Mitchell's opponent is as yet.
No, there's a little question mark.
There's a question mark there, so we don't know who it is. But within the same 8 fighters, there is a guy called Aubin Mercier, who is last year's champion. So he's got some good formidable opponents there as well.
I don't like the point system as well, because if somebody is in a position where they could finish the fight and they know, if I finish this, I'm going to be ranked first, and that means I'm going to have, well, I guess if you want to be ranked first, then you have the easiest fight, but you have the option of manipulation of your future opponent.
Yeah. I suppose one good thing is that it does push fighters to get it sorted quick. Get in there and just...
it's the opposite.
So the first rounds, it's not like UFC, is it? Like where, you can sort of play the rounds and think, oh, I think I'm up 2 or whatever. It's like, let's go and knock somebody out.
What if you know the result of the previous fights and you're like, if I win this by decision, that's going to be my opponent. And then it's like you go into the fight going, I'm just going to play safe. I'm just going to, and it's like you get positions or moments where you could explode and you could knock this guy out, and you're like, but if I knock him out, my opponent's going to change and be more difficult.
Yeah. Are fighters that clever, or
there's some smart fighters coaches out there. Should be.
Yeah, right. So there can be a little bit of manipulation there.
Yeah, definitely. So if you were going to, that's what happened with the Olympics with the badminton. One of the teams, or actually 2 of the teams, if whoever won that game was going to go on to play the Chinese team, which was the number 1 rank. And so both of these teams were trying to lose.
Yes. Trying to lose.
And they were both like hitting into that going, oh.
And then they got disqualified because it was so blatantly obvious.
Yes.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Both teams got disqualified. It's great to watch the pathetic acting that, these are world-class players in the Olympics, and they're like, oh, I missed the thing completely.
So do you think like PFL in their quest to reinvent the wheel maybe gone too far and maybe you're trying to think about it too much, or is this new format just worth experimenting with?
I like anyone who's going to change it up, because what we've got so far is based off a boxing 10-point system. And as far as we're all concerned, I'm pretty sure everybody thinks that sucks. It is shit. It is shit all over. There's nothing good that you can say about it at all. This is MMA. We need a whole different points scoring system. We need to make things easier for our judges. This is why, like, when Volkanovski fought Makachev the other day, the cheating Makachev, there's still talk, 4 or 5 weeks later, about who actually won that fight. This is
Makachev
bullshit.
won that fight very clearly, 3 rounds to 2.
Yeah, right. What if they did? I know a lot of people will probably shut me down for this, but what if they did open scoring? So
yeah, I like that idea.
At the end of every round, up goes on the screen exactly who won that, according to 5 judges or 3 judges. Should be 5 judges and not 3, by the way. Just to even it out, because we've had problems,
I think it's 5. If you can't get it right with 3, I think adding 5 to the mix is going to make it worse. I do like that, but I do agree with you. I like open scoring. The problem with that, or the argument against that, is that if a fighter knows they're ahead by 2 rounds, and it's like, oh, I've just got to play it safe this last round, I'll win the fight. The other guy should, in theory, be going, I need to win this.
Sub or KO.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what's interesting about it. And then it becomes a whole... I agree with you what you're saying. The winning guy who's won 3 rounds, his
if
temptation
he's
is to
the head
coast.
Yeah.
But all he knows is, I've got
There's
to not
an
get knocked out. And the other guy goes, I have to knock him out. So you're going to see a totally different last 2 rounds.
There is that
You
intrinsic
get a lot of
risk in
smothering.
having the hubris of being in front and feeling, okay, I'm going to coast now as well.
Yeah.
And that can open up its own little Pandora's box.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
ultimately the best person will win, because if that guy is who is in front starts to coast and take things easy and it just goes for easy shots and whatnot, he leaves himself perhaps vulnerable.
I think that what would happen is that the person who's ahead will just grapple, take him down, and just do nothing.
Right.
And you'll get a lot of
running
boring.
down the clock.
They'll just sit on top of somebody and just lay there, and it's like they know, and the audience will boo, and it's like he's like, dude, I got 30 seconds and I won this fight. I don't care if you're booing, because if he's winning the first two, in theory he should be dominant enough to win the third, and it's like if that other fighter, it's like, I need to go for broke and get the finish here.
You watch the hatred come from the fans for a coasting fighter.
Yeah.
Because the great thing is, from an audience perspective as well, yes, there's going to be like the two fighters are going to know everything, but the audience knows as well. And we won't have any of these arguments anymore. The judges will never be blamed again. Or if the judge makes a really bad decision, guess what?
Shot.
We're all going to see it, and we're all going to go, this judge should never judge again. And we get rid of the bad ones. There's some dodgy judges
Cecil
out there.
Peoples.
At the highest level, there is talk about dodgy judges in the UFC.
They're boxing judges.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally are boxing judges.
Some guy was like a stunt man in Hollywood. He's the worst one. Have you heard about him?
Which one's that? Douglas Crosby?
Yeah. I think it's him. I think he's had friendship with Dana White for a long time, and so he just does whatever he thinks the promotion wants.
Yes.
So, we're really hyping up this
hometown
young fighter.
fighter
Really hot. So he just gives every round, regardless if the guy lost a round, clearly lost. He gives it to that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the people that are buying tickets, you see it in the crowd reaction, and it's always the fighters that put on the best fights. The fight of the night. Yep. Those guys, regardless of who wins or who loses, always get offered another fight on that promotion. The promoters love it. So if you did see that you've got some fighters counting down the clock and it's really obvious and the crowd don't like it, promoters it doesn't matter how good that fighter might be, are going to be less inclined to sign them up to their next event.
That's right. That's the way it goes.
I know I've just seen it play out, and it should. And then they put these fighters, say somebody like John Fitch, right, who was on like a 17 fight winning streak, and they would not give him a title fight because he was doing exactly that. He would just take people down and just grind them, as he would call it, which meant he would hold them and do this for 3 rounds, and he would do it to everybody. And they would not give him a title fight against George St. Pierre, even with 17 wins or whatever, because it was like, we don't want this guy as champion. Eventually they did have to, and then George beat him, and then I think he had one more fight, and then they cut him, and it was like, you're gone.
And George did the same thing once he was a champion for like the next 15 fights in a row.
Absolutely.
It was boring as hell.
But the problem with I think, is you want fights to be exciting, you want fighters to go in and give it everything, and everyone wants that balls to the wall, let's throw hands and get, and you want a Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner sort of match every time.
Yes.
But a lot of the time, when you're putting the best guys in the world, they do tend to cancel each other out in a lot of ways. And it's like, you're not going to get that let's just go for it moments. And people do take breathers. They do take rounds off. They do like, I'm just going to sit here and rest. And it's almost...
You can see it though, can't you?
That's right. And the crowd does boo, but it's like, if I finish this, they've got that win bonus incentive. It's like you get paid, say, $200,000 for showing up. If you win, you get another $200,000, and they're like, I just got to hold on to this dude for 40 seconds, and I get $200,000.
Yeah.
I'm not going balls to the wall here.
Yeah.
It's like a double-edged sword.
That's the kind of guy that you are, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
balls to the wall.
Well, that's the Louis. That's
studio.
why guys like Louis Payson and Brandon White get booked as main events, because they are the guys that are going to go after each other and try to knock each other out, and that's what everyone wants to see.
And that's what we saw at DFC, didn't we?
Yeah.
We didn't have many
what a
going to the
segue.
judge's decision at all, eh?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
So DFC, we've got some of the highlights. You mightn't be able to see them at home, but we've got some of the highlights just up on the Daily Combat podcast screen in studio right now. And so I'll just take you back to a few of these moments. And of course, Rich Warner, you were cage side. Actually, so was Hollywood Matt Connolly.
Could I just say that was one of the coolest things ever for me as a fan of MMA, and then to have the opportunity to put on. Not only did we put on our arm wrestling event on the same day, a few hours earlier, which was just incredible. Thanks to everyone involved in that, awesome. Craig Ike and yourself and everyone that was there that did an awesome job with that. But then a few hours later, we had the MMA event, and I was chatting to you at the commentator's desk, and before the event was about to start, and I was like, oh, man, I don't know where I'm going to sit. And you're like, why don't you just sit here with me? And I was like, really? Like, yeah. Like, okay.
That's great.
And I was sitting literally like I could reach my hand out to touch the cage. The fighters were right in front of me. I'm hearing your commentary and Dave's commentary. Incredible moment. And it wasn't just that, but it was like, because we do the podcast. We've been doing it for a couple of years, and it feels sometimes like, no one's listening or whatever, which we don't care.
Is anyone out there?
we come in and just laugh and have fun. Like, it's great. I really look forward to it.
But no one's listening.
Yeah, that's the feeling that you get. But you put an episode up, you might get 40 views or whatever. But it felt like every one of those 40 people were there that night. So it was like. So I was sitting on the cage with you, and obviously next to you was Nora Schultz, and what was the other? Julia, I think, was the other ring girl. And Nora had been on the show as well, so I was hanging, and everyone that was walking past was like patting me on the shoulder and, "Hey, you going, mate?" And it was like, "This is so cool, this is incredible." It was like, and then even the fighters, like, they'd come into the cage, they'd do a loop. They'd look over and they'd see, and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, hi." And then after the fights, their management team and everyone that has obviously watched the show because their fighter's been on it, and it's like, you can see that look of recognition that people have when they see you and they go, "Oh," and then they know who you are. It's like, I don't know who you are, but
we watch the Daily Combat podcast. Yeah. That's Hollywood over there.
Yeah, and the fighters
getting
afterwards.
Famous, bro.
That was
like
in that realm. In that realm, it was. But like Gary Neugebauer afterwards
is it Neuger or Neuger?
Neuger.
Neugebauer.
I was chatting to him after the fight, and then even Louis.
Lovely guy.
Louis, which we'll talk about in a minute, but after his fight, he was walking out to go home, basically, or wherever he was going, and sort of, little head down or whatever. And he's walked past, and he sort of just glanced and saw me, and then he's like just stopped and come back to say hello. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool! Like, it's so nice." So
but you're just for the viewers at home, you're literally fanboying about sitting next to Rich when you were actually sitting in that same chair. Commentating for the AWE event for 3 hours, just 2 hours earlier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it was awesome having you there.
Oh, it was great.
I was really glad because we were able to find a spare chair, and there was just a special little space for you, Holly.
That was great. Yeah. It was so good.
Special
because I could turn around and just take the mic set off and then chat to Matt, and and he's so pumped. I'm like, yeah, I'm just feeding off your energy.
I was shaking Rich.
It was good. Hey, we had 11 fights and 11 bloody good fights. Not one bad one.
And this one, so we've got on screen
right
now. We've got the first.
We can mess around with it in post, but they won't be able to see it unless I turn the camera to the screen.
So at the moment, we've got the first fight on, which is Shannon Ross versus Nina Kurkovic.
And I'll just set the scene a little bit. So there was a lightweight title fight between Louis the Junkyard Dog Payson and Brandon White. We had Damien Apu Vola, but of course we know him as coming for the honey Vola, and Gary Neugebauer. So they were your co-main events, and Perry Mason and Jermaine Guglielmi. So we're also now Guglielmi is the name I practice.
It's a very practiced pronunciation.
Worst MC in Australia. He's the best.
Well, if I'm the best, I've got Jermaine Guglielmi's mum to thank for that one.
Didn't she before the event?
She kind of laid down the law and she said, "You see my son fight? That ain't nothing. You fucked this name up."
I said it wrong then.
Don't let mum find out.
Don't watch the
no, she was entirely. She was lovely. I did ask her at the weigh-ins if I do get a name wrong, just come up and let me know, and we'll make that right on the night. And she came for Guglielmi, and then about 2 hours before the event, she came over and said, "So how you going with that name?" And I went, Guglielmi. And she went, beautiful. She loved
better
it.
part.
Wouldn't have been
Shit.
terrible if she kept changing the pronunciation. I swear, Lass is doing that to me. Lass Botha.
Les Botha.
Every time I say Botha, he's like, no, it's Botha. And,
Botha.
I go Botha. And he's like, no, Botha. And I'm like,
So it was a big card. It was a stat card, and it all started with the young lady's first fight of the night, Shannon
Ross,
who put up a fantastic third round and looked very, very good. And as ring announcer, I was not paying attention to the first 2 rounds and only saw the last round. And when I got the decision from the judges, I had to double check and make sure that because her third round was very, very impressive.
that's you there. We're
There
watching
he
on the
comes up
screen.
on the
So if you look at me, I'm looking at it going, what? Hang on.
did a great job on the night as well, Dave.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing job.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think we had any mistakes at all, did we?
Not
From the pronunciation
Flawless
of Guliami.
performance.
Kazan.
Yeah, so this is the
I did
first
say that
fight.
incorrectly.
And Shannon's fought once before. She fought last year against Jackie Evie Evans. Now Hughes, actually, just married Nick Hughes. And she won that fight. So she had a little bit of experience on Nina. The question on Nina was, can she handle the bright lights for her first fight? The first 2 rounds, she was definitely down, and Shannon was just taking it to her, pretty much beating her in most areas. And then, I don't know what Ike said. We want to know what. We're going to talk to Ike and say, what the hell did you say at the end of the bell of round 2 to change Nina? Because she just turned into an absolute monster. And with the hooks, do you remember the hooks? We
batting
just
her
saw a
left and
few
right,
before, but
yeah.
she just had her head rocking from one side to the other. And, she was just about everything she was landing. And then you were saying before, Matt, she was just like, almost had her knocked out basically in that third round, and then you're like, just one more is needed, and you're like, I don't know if I've got it in her arms. She gave so much.
She did. It was
really amazing fight.
Yeah, it was a back and forth, and it was like a 4-punch combination that sort of left and right, all landed. It's like one more would do it, and she's like, I need to take a breath.
So shout out to both girls for put up a really excellent.
There was no losers in that fight.
No
That was
losers.
incredible.
Exactly, for your first fight, I think what she needed the confidence, and she got that.
Yes.
And if that's what you can take out of that fight, geez, if you're going to fight the next 3 rounds in your second fight like you did that third round, wow, you're going to be a real good fighter.
Absolutely.
I think she just conned on to, the hooks are landing, and she started throwing them around the gloves.
Yep.
So, Shannon had her hands up, and they're just coming right behind them, and that's what won her that third round for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
And it'd be very intimidating for a fighter on debut to be walking out in front of the grandstands and a big crowd and the big stage. It's a little bit different to a back room or an RSL somewhere. She made debut in front of the bright lights and the cameras.
It's almost a smart strategy to play defensive in that situation for that first round. It's like, okay, just get your bearings. Feel this out. Like, you've never been here before. You don't know what the deal is. So playing it smart. But maybe midway through the second was when it needed to be like, okay, this is the time you've got us to turn it around.
Well, she's a black belt in Taekwondo, Nina, and so I think those first 2 rounds, you would have seen her use a lot of teep kicks, a lot of leg kicks, tried body kick quite a few times, not so much hands, and then the third round it was all hands.
All hands.
Which was the winning combination for her.
Very close. Good performance. Good, good debut.
Congratulations, Shannon Ross, on the decision victory on that one. Got it 2-1. Next fight, of course, that we're watching is Boaz Walker versus Rahula Karabar. Probably said that wrong because it's Karabar.
This was another good fight. And
Karabar.
yeah, we sort of went all over the cage in terms of like they were striking. They were, as you can see here on our highlights, they were on the ground for a bit as well. A lot of heavy strikes landed from Walker that rocked. How do you say his name?
Karabar.
Yeah,
We're going to go with that.
So he really got sort of hammered a couple of times. That is sort of the thing that won Walker that fight.
A lot
But,
of tough,
pretty
exciting
close.
young Afghan fighters making their way into the cage. You just noticed that over the last few shows, and a very distinctive style. They're there to entertain as much as anything. They're not. Yeah, they give it their absolute all once they're in there.
Yeah, shout out to Sadiq, the Afghan Asifi, who was meant to be on the card, but about a week before he'd fallen over and he severely injured his back. So apparently he was in a bit of pain. He was there on the day, but had to pull out of the fight. So shout out to the Afghan. We were really looking forward to seeing Sadiq fight. But instead we got Boaz Walker and Rahula. Boaz is the opposite in personality to Rahula, and I thought it came out in the fight. Rahula was very quiet, very, passive demeanour. What do you say?
Stoic.
Yeah, very stoic. And he was just, a straight puncher, very technical. Whereas Boaz is an absolute clown. He's an absolute clown. Inside the gym, everything he says is just hilarious. He was like dry humping my leg out in the back room before he came out. No joke.
Is that unusual?
He's like, have I shown you my new move? And he's like doing all this. He's just an absolute animal.
So got you to tap out though.
Hilarious. And he showed the diversity. Yeah, I'm like, keep going.
Stop that.
So he was funny. He showed a lot of diversity in that fight. I think he probably dominated on the ground with some ground and pound, as you're saying, Matt, to win the fight in the end. So I think did he get was it a decision or did it?
Was that the one where I haven't seen them since we watched it on the night, but there was one when the guy with the hammer fist knockouts. Was that
No,
fight?
that was the next one.
Oh, okay.
That was.
I think that was a
Snake.
decision then. That must have been a decision.
Yeah, that was Matt the Rainbow Snake. I'll try.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, Matthew Clark. That one was.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah.
Here he is, the Rainbow Snake, Matty Clark from Element.
Yeah, it's great. So we're just skipping through our highlights here. The people that are watching at home or listening, we're finding our highlights for
at the weigh-ins. I said to Matthew, I said, "What's your?" He had his coach there. I said, "What have you got a nickname for your fighter at all?" He goes, Matty comes in. He goes, "BBC." Yeah, I thought exactly what you said. You're laughing at. I'm like, I don't know if we can use that.
British broadcasting.
His coach said, "No, call him the Rainbow Snake." So I think he's like part Aboriginal, he was fighting a mean-looking dude from AT&T. We're talking about Alex Matheson is the Rainbow Snake, not Matthew Clark. Matthew Clark's the guy on screen at the moment from ATT, so come all the way down from Sydney. He started off really big punches, and I think he had him rocked, eh?
Oh, he did.
Had Matheson rocked. Certainly woke him up. Thought, geez, I'm in a fight here. And, these big boys, heavyweights, it doesn't take a lot. And for about 26 seconds worth of action, you can get a lot of damage done if you're a heavyweight.
Yep.
And then he had Matheson against the cage, and he almost shot in, but Matheson sort of reversed it and just used his big frame to weigh down the pressure, and he ended up on top. And that's where, he sort of got that back kind of mount and started laying those hammer fists like you're talking. Yeah, he's a crack. No, hard. When you're so close to the cage, like like when you watch it on the screen, it's like, oh yeah, they really hard. Geez, you get close to that cage and you can hear the thwack.
That was incredible. The first one, was like stunned, and then the second one, which is half a second later, he's like he's unconscious, and then 4 more landed after that. It was just like it was that quick. It was like bang, 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 bang.
He started with the flying knee. He tried the
Fabricio Verdun style.
There you go. So look, Jaden starts it early, gets him down. Look, big right hand uppercuts there.
Big guys, big movements in this cage, and they're both throwing everything they got into every shot here.
He reverses this position and it's all done. He's too strong a grappler. Too strong a grappler.
It's almost a surprise when
1, 2,
your opponent
3,
starts
4,
so
5.
quickly like that.
Yeah.
Where are these hammer fists coming? I'm excited to see this again because I haven't seen it since they actually happened live.
The Rainbow Snake. Matheson. Another hammer fist and another one. Doesn't let him get up from here.
Yeah.
Oh, he takes him down straight away again. Reverses him around. Boom.
And nice seatbelt. Gets full mount.
We knew he was going to be a good grappler, but geez, the power in some of these punches. Ref's looking pretty closely, and it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, great win there. Absolutely.
Yeah. This one for the show reel.
No one can see what we're watching, though, can they?
No, but that's okay. We're painting a picture.
We might flash some up for you later on.
Okay.
So I can work these highlights in after.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. 4 days of work.
Matt doesn't sleep. It's okay.
I literally haven't seen this.
People do think we're joking.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
He's not a big sleeper.
Yeah, he doesn't sleep.
No.
Like,
And when we say that, it's not
I would
like
like to.
he has patchy sleep at night. No, he just doesn't sleep.
I work all night. Yeah.
What do you do during the day?
I work all
keep
day
working.
too.
I keep working.
Yeah, for those who are watching, and we call Matt Hollywood Connolly, I only realised, because he told me, that the reason, where did he get his nickname from? Where did you get your nickname from, Matt?
I
He
gave
made
it
it
to
up.
myself.
He's an actor.
And
what an actor.
And
An
this,
amazing
and this
actor.
was exposed on a podcast whilst he's on with another guy whose nickname is Hollywood. And they asked, who was that?
Don Hollywood Underwood.
Don Hollywood Underwood. And they said, how'd you get your nickname? And Don had some illustrious story about, I did this and, blah, blah, blah. And then they said, so Matt, how did you get your nickname? He goes, I made it up.
I gave it to myself.
So you can't make up your own nickname, can you?
No, I make up all the nicknames for everyone in the
He
club.
makes all the nicknames.
So I was like, what? And somebody was trying to push the Marshall for me. I was like, no, because it was the
COVID
COVID. I'm like, that,
Marshall.
I don't want that.
I don't want to be that guy.
Hollywood's better.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, I like that. I'm going with that. And then I picked that, and then I went to arm wrestling training, and Tim, one of our guys, who's
Tim Graham.
Tim Graham,
The
yeah,
Viking.
The Viking,
yes. And I said, I've gone with Hollywood. And he goes,
I've gone with Hollywood.
yeah. And
A mate gave it to me, yeah.
yeah, somebody, yeah.
Just
But he goes, you can't use that. He goes, Don Underwood uses that, and I was like,
I'm never going to meet him.
I was like, who's Don Underwood? I didn't know who he was back then. This is a couple of years ago. And I was like, there could be 2 Hollywoods, it'll be fine. And yeah, I'll never meet this guy. And then flash to, I'm on a podcast with this dude.
There can be only one Hollywood.
yeah. But it was a great little moment. So, and every time I'm on a show with the Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward, who's big in the arm wrestling world, he always says, we need to get you a new nickname every time. And then he'll start a poll, what nickname.
I only knew you as Hollywood, so I don't know any difference.
Good.
It sits well with me. It's Hollywood for sure.
Better than Matthew Condomely, which I had at high school.
Co-breather of air.
It was Matthew Colonnades, Matthew Cauliflower. But my favourite was Condomely.
Condomely. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. we might see that resurrected.
But yes, acting, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm acting right now.
He's an actor.
Yeah.
This is
done
really me.
It's
quite a few little
Yeah,
movies.
Hollywood Matt Connolly's a character.
Yeah,
that's right.
he's mostly the bad guy in movies.
I am the bad
Yeah.
guy in the
Is the-
movie we're doing at the moment, yeah.
Are you?
It's a horror, and I've been murdering many people.
Oh, good.
In lots of creative ways, which
Right
is
down
has
your
been a lot
alley.
of fun, yeah.
Wow. What's your favourite way of murdering?
Well, let me list some of the ways that we've had in
Let
this.
me tell you some of the ways.
Well, last one I did, I strangled a girl to death with a garbage bag over the face, which
Oh, yes.
there's a very fine line between
Did it feel
pretending to strangle someone to death with a garbage bag and actually strangle. It was like, there's no way to fake this. Like,
So
you've
you
gotta-
killed that
no,
girl.
like she tapped out.
Just for the film.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dedication to the craft, but
What's that method of acting?
Method acting.
Method acting?
method acting. Well, no, but you can't fake like putting a bag over someone's face and like pretending to choke him.
Probably
So
shitting herself.
no, it was great.
From my end.
From my side.
That's what all the murderers say. Oh, yeah, no, it's great. Went well.
Well, we
Yeah.
had to do that scene like 15 times or something. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And they're like, no, it needs to be tighter over the face, like
So the first time he does it really nicely, like, there you go, dear.
gently. Can you breathe in there? Yeah.
And on the 15th one, you're
It's like,
like,
she actually tapped out on the last one.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
Really?
she did. Yeah.
Did you have a safe word? No, just
No,
a
just
tap.
tap that leg and I'll stop.
Tap it out.
Yeah, yeah. But
Wow.
that's one. But there was a lot of murdering and blood and mayhem.
Here we go. Something's going on.
Listen to this. Listen to the legend.
Here we go.
I don't know if we'll pick that up on Dave, who's introducing the fight here.
You did. There we go, Palliaris. Could have been tricky, but we got there. Palliaris.
What's been the most difficult one that you've had to do, Dave?
Sound pretty pumped there, don't I?
You do sound pumped. Your energy levels are through
I hate
the roof.
boring commentary, like, and what a great fight we've got here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we've got
what a knockout that
the
was.
Greek warrior versus...
His leg has completely fallen off. Yeah.
So the most intimidating name to call and get potentially wrong was at the AWE event. So it was Matuaringi Hetamoris.
Yes, you did well.
And no, I reckon I said it about 5 different ways.
Many versions.
Really?
It's like saying another language though. That's a hard name.
And he says it really well. Ryan Bowen says it really well.
Yes,
it's like he's spent time.
He has.
Spent time on it.
Perfect. He can say a lot of the European names, and it's like looking at half the alphabet for me. How are you getting a name out of that?
It wasn't just a hard name to say, but because the guy's 165 kilos with a massive tattoo over his face.
And standing next to you.
The Greek warrior. I gave him that name like the day before.
That was one of yours? Yeah,
they're all mine.
Love it.
they're pretty much.
They're all mine.
Yeah. Like he said to me later, he goes, "You've got to stop giving bloody people nicknames." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Because it has to happen like naturally." I'm like,
"It is naturally."
I said, "Do you like this one?" He goes, "Coming for the honey." He goes, "That's great." I go, "Thank you very much."
Yeah.
I did videotape that moment. We do have that.
Yeah.
Just in case he does become world champ one day. They did have a lot of growth. You were right there, Rich. A lot of growth. Oh, Rich, you don't have your headphones on.
Sorry?
You don't have your headphones on.
Oh. I've got my headphones on.
We'll have to start again.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I can hear you now.
Here we go.
So this is Leo Gal coming out of Element versus Yanni Palliaris. Really good fight, this one. I think it was one of our Chinese kickboxing fights for the night.
Sanshu?
Yeah,
How do you think Sanshu's going in the cage?
Good, man.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think it works really well.
Good addition.
And people, I suppose most people in the crowd have no idea that it's Sanshu or anything like that.
Little strange rule set, this one, because there was a lot of takedowns that led to nowhere. It was like takedown and then, stand back up again.
Takedown to a rest, I suspect.
And most of them were from Leo.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Leo in the end was just using it as an opportunity to have a bit of a break.
Yeah. He was dominating his fight. The takedowns were very solid and they looked great. He's definitely got some wrestling background there, but it was almost like, from an audience perspective, okay, you've taken him down, awesome. And then it's like, okay, get back up again. It's like,
the great thing about Leo Gal is I believe it was Element Fight Night. He was the one who came out to Sweet Caroline. So
somebody else did that on that night. Somebody had a very similar song to that.
It wasn't Sweet Caroline.
It was Leo
It was Leo at Element Fight Night.
Yeah.
But there is another fight.
I can't believe you didn't do it again.
Somebody did a similar song. Are you sure? No, it was on DFC.
No, it wasn't. Wasn't that one?
It was.
Sweet Caroline.
Yes, it was. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't Sweet Caroline, but it was a similar style.
Yeah,
Yeah, like a bit of a sing-along song.
Build her up, Buttercup or something.
There you go. And look, these takedowns from Leo are just taking all of the energy and the gas out of Palliaris. Leo, he's got a big future. Big future.
Yeah, interesting fight, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, one little word of note about Leo Gal and his marketability. So whenever in the lead up to the fight, the fighters have their fight photos taken. They're standing there, and Leo, most of them are topless, for instance, and Leo's photo was one of the most viewed.
Really?
So whenever we posted him as a story, and just he was a very, very popular young man, Leo Gale. So a very, very, very marketable young man, one would imagine. So. And a great performance at the Element Fight Night, and he's followed through once again, and not disappointed on this occasion. I'm sure we'll see him back in the DFC cage in the not too distant future. Maybe not under Sanshu rules, but maybe even under MMA rules.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's from an MMA club, an Element, and, you know, you can see in this that he loves the takedown. He just shot to it every time he challenged Yanni he lured him into a striking fight, and then as soon as Yanni started throwing back, he copped a really nice head kick, Leo Cal, from Pao Yaris in the first round. But yeah, he lured him in to just to take the double leg and
that
drop
audio from the TV might cause problems on the recording.
The double audio?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out Joseph Abella there, just looking just great, and his dreadlocks looking spectacular. Just off of camera at the moment. I think he was standing right next to the cage.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just recently became a dad, so I met Joseph in a sauna actually. So
that's
all the places to.
This is gonna go weird now, isn't it?
Only for Joseph. Here we go. Here's the announcement.
If you want, I'll put the footage up in the edit. I think playing it in the background is going to cause problems.
It's causing problems. Okay, well there you go. We'll just turn that down.
The video's fine, but just
the video's fine.
Yeah,
because it's going through forward microphones.
I just thought that was like better than stereo.
It's one for each ear.
So yeah, they're very, very good fight. And Sanshu fights filling out a lot of cards, I've noticed, in the MMA world, where it can sometimes be a difficulty to, or you have fights fall over. Sanshu's really, really come to the rescue and meant that we can plug the gaps on these cards and give opportunities for young fighters to step onto the big stage.
Yeah, absolutely. This next fight coming up, Aziz in for the kill for Till.
That's a great nickname.
This was an incredible moment, and for me as a fan and sitting where I was,
dude, we could have caught the head
God.
As he fell. Right,
should we
right
say what happened?
So
we did see
Isaac Richards
a spectacular knockout in this fight. Did you see this one? Here it is.
And then
there we go.
Right there, he's fallen right in front of us.
Right there.
We always felt like you could
Just
throw your arm out and
poke him in the back.
catch the head as he went down.
And Isaac Richards has had an interesting journey in his sporting career, having been a goalkeeper for Adelaide United, and made his way over to MMA, and he's had some ups and downs. But Saturday night just gone. That was his night. So he's certainly starting to feature among the top echelon of fighters in the division now. And
he's scary, isn't he? You wouldn't, you get matched up against him, you'd probably go, is there anybody else?
Yeah.
Because he's explosive, isn't he?
Look at the accuracy.
There we go. That left
perfectly.
Right.
You couldn't have placed that
the
better.
head kick, the slap off that head kick,
God,
Matt.
so loud. Yeah. I thought he was out from the head kick.
Yeah.
And he fell against the cage only to receive a perfectly placed 100% power punch hook to the jaw, which spun his head, and he's dropped completely unconscious right in front of us.
So there were a few fights that were cut short due to knockout. I mean, it was interesting because you don't see that often where you get so many of the fights that are finished. Yeah,
no judges required. Thank you.
Yeah, they could have had the night off.
And, it still maintains the record for Isaac Richards of never getting through the first round.
Ah.
I don't think...
One way or the other.
That news startled me. Yeah.
No, but that's a strong Scotch. That's one of the strongest that I went to sip it, and I was like, it's got me already.
I think any scotch that you can't pronounce when you are sober, I think is. I mean, it's 16 years old. That's something. That's where. That's where it's all.
What is the name of that?
It's Matawaringi.
Matawaringi.
He's
got his own scotch.
Absolutely unbelievable. Lagwalin.
Whatever you say, I'm going with.
Lagwalin. I'm going to go with Lagwalin.
That's the one it was.
B's and Y's are often interchangeable. Let's consider it that. And then we had a little hip hop contest. That was interesting. What did you think of that, Rich?
I think interesting is a good word for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, next time.
I thought the format.
If they do need. Like,
You're in.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Dave, and I live on the north side. I suppose my expectation was they were going to do a battle like Eminem style.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be.
And then they did their
just a performance.
And then I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, Mr. Stockbridge, about because I saw you explode in the cage when they were trying to figure out for like 45 minutes who was the winner. And Stockbridge just put his mic to the side and yelled something to the side like, "Hurry up and fucking get off, you bastards!" or something like that. I don't know what he said, but I know he said something.
Oh no! Well, there was a little something said, but I think it was prearranged how that would go down, and I think what it was they were originally they were looking for me to call who the winner was. It was a crowdometer. So
they did
the crowdometer, and it was quite obvious that
by way of clapping, or
by way of raucousness, there would be a determination, which I think is a little bit more accurate than what PFL so,
six claps equals 1 point.
Yeah, that's right. So we got out there and we called a winner, but it didn't seem like the message you got through, and that can sometimes be bright lights in the big moment.
So you called the winner,
this is what
and the
problem.
message didn't get through, and that's what you were upset with.
What format they were going with here? Because they wanted to do a crowd response for like these are the first two guys. Let's get crowd response for each one of them.
Yeah.
And then whoever wins that goes against the winner of these two who get crowd response.
Oh, is that what was
And then
going
they wanted
on?
to do like a final crowd response thing.
Yeah,
But nobody knew what the hell was going on.
53 crowd responses.
And people weren't interested to
People
start
were
with
turned off.
because they were there to see
for the
fights.
They're like, get these fucking
And then
idiots
it was
off
like,
so we can watch the next one.
we'll humour you to, great,
Yeah.
it's awesome. And then it's like, we want you to cheer. And it's like, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think the only entertainment we need after a fight is Stockbridge.
Well, I think as part of the Apex Sport Fest, it's a festival for the senses, isn't it? So and there's a lot of entertainment going on.
Perfume battle.
Yes. Maybe next year. So it was one of those things that there was a little bit of trial and error on the night to see if there could be a little bit more life brought to the event and a little bit more interest and a bit and the guys did a great job. I think Sammy was the chap that was running that and did a fantastic job. It's just at the end we weren't too sure who was winning and losing or what exactly the judging criteria. So it was basically the PFL of MC battles at the end.
A big break between songs as well. So by the time they'd done the fourth one and asking, and they introduced the first one, I'm like, I can't remember who was the best.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Who's got the best shirt?
Yeah, it's like I don't know, just get off.
Yeah.
I was really happy with this call. This is just if we can just be.
Oh, here we
I
go.
would have liked.
Are we going to listen to the man?
I would
No,
have
Matt
liked
doesn't
the.
like it on the microphone.
Oh no, it's not. I don't like
That's
it. It's
okay.
just it will you'll see when I go to play it back.
I don't care.
I want to hear myself in stereo again.
Because I can play it properly and have it edited in.
You can?
Yeah.
But
But
then
if you want to do it this way and then put your mic towards the TV, because then it'll pick it up. 'Cause otherwise, I'm getting like 4 echoes of it. There you go.
That's the first time I've done that, and I've actually heard other people saying it back to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I love how he does
And
that.
I
This is what you've come to see.
Yeah.
The DFC.
We're here for the hip hop.
Fuck that shit.
I wasn't sure if that was just you behind me saying it or whether it was actually people in the
Oh, no,
grandstands,
I think everyone was... That's cool, Dave.
Corner and weighing in at 69.9 kilograms, fighting out of Eagle MMA, all the way from New South Wales. Welcome to the Lord of Ben Patterson.
That was a good one. That was a good intro.
That's can't get better than that. I'm serious. That's amazing. And all across our arm wrestling entertainment, the AWE comments across everything. The MC was amazing. Really made the show, and you did an incredible job, and you did an incredible job here as well.
Yeah. No, well, that's very nice of you to say.
Different jacket.
Sure it was a different jacket. I changed up the suits.
Well, you think... Some people would think it looks easy.
Oh, that's right.
He makes it look easy, but it's
incredibly difficult. You got to read the crowd.
It's 1 in a million people.
You
who
can't
can
be
do
too excited for the low ones when there's not as many people because it's like you have nothing to hype up for the big event. Yeah, it's a very much a skill, and it's not like you can go in and practice.
No. Do you practice?
The names I'll practice. Like I'll try and make sure I get the pronunciation right as much as I can.
Where did you come up with the line? This is what you've come to see, the DFC. Where'd you come up with that one?
Well, I kind of just made it up, and that was because whatever it was, it had to rhyme with C, DFC. So I just wanted something where it was it was the DFC thing, it was my thing, and it was different to whatever it is that might be otherwise said in the middle of a cage or a ring anywhere else. And as has been pointed out to me since, all the promotions ends in C, so you're good now, Dave. Like you've got it covered. Yeah.
But I also like this line that you do. I'll see if I can say it without stuffing it up.
No, stuff it up. It's even better.
When he talks about, correct me how it goes. He talks about people who sponsors and stuff, and he goes support. What did he say? Support the companies that support the sports that you love.
Yeah, that's true.
What you say?
There's something along those lines.
No, say what you really say. Say what you really say.
No. That's pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So support those that support the sport you love. Something along those lines. Love the one you're with, I think.
Another. Oh, sorry.
And NXP and American Motors were big supporters of this event, and just as Roll Clean and Lammy Largo. And the reason I'm plugging Lammy Largo a little bit more this time, Hollywood Matt Connolly, is because our friends at Lammy Largo, after this particular event, said, you know what, next event you need a new jacket. And
really?
We've got a design in mind, and it's going to be bespoke and just for you. And it so for anybody who happens to attend DFC 17,
yes,
17 at the Adelaide Oval on the 3rd of June, you will see the big reveal. So you're going to see a whole lot of gold satin and velvet lapels, double-breasted, and something very, very special. So
gold, you get the gold jacket.
The gold.
He's moved up. He's been given the gold jacket.
So thank you very much, Mia Lap and Jason and the team there at Lammy Largo.
Yeah, awesome.
We'll look forward to revealing that to the world in just a couple of months' time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well deserved. Another Eagle MMA fighter here.
They didn't lose it all on the night, did they?
They did incredible. Yeah.
Sam Najoki he's had some mixed success, but what I really like about Sam is that he comes back every time, and it doesn't matter if it's kickboxing or MMA. He absolutely gives it his all. He did put me off a little bit though. He did have a haircut. Ooh. It seems.
I like the Viking look, eh?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if he'll grow the locks back in expectation of regaining some additional strength. I don't know, but
it's a secret.
It's a Herculean recipe there.
But even on this occasion, it was a relatively quick fight. This one from memory as well, but. Sam looked in it until he wasn't, and
Patterson looked so relaxed the whole way through this, and the walkout, and through every moment of this fight, he just looked very calm, very controlled, measured, And he worked in his favour. He came away with a big knockout.
Yeah, look, just grappling strong, wrestling heavy. Njelki, I thought he did well. I think he tried to sort of. I think this last fight was against Louis, was it?
It may have been Louis Passon at the Apex Sport Fest last year.
So I suppose he wanted to prove that, hey, I'm not. He got knocked out in 13 seconds, and that was an incredible fight. So he wanted to spend some time there, I'm sure.
This is the hammer fist knockout, I think.
Did.
Is this the one? I reckon it is.
Let's see.
Because
Oh,
he
yes,
gets
it
that
is.
arm free.
It is.
And
This
then
is
he's going to get like 7 hammer fists that are incredibly
right
hard.
on the nose.
Here we go.
Here we go.
And
Just postures up.
The first one
down.
stuns,
He looking,
and then here it
his
is.
left hand is holding his jaw to
Yes.
the on the floor, and then the right hand just bang, bang,
Yeah,
bang.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's
It's
done.
crazy
He's
how
out.
that doesn't seem as loud or as violent on the replay as what it was in person.
People
Well,
don't
you-
know, do they?
No.
Don't not
And
know.
for those that might be watching this podcast, you might just see, you see, there's Joseph, but look at him, that beautiful beard. There's Matt from Element just there in the background, just lurking in the background, giving sage words of advice. But right behind where those two fighters are right now, you're going to see Hollywood Matt Connolly. Is that your bicep right there? Maybe.
He's made a cameo there.
Yes. It's just the right forearm, but right there. Doctors did a great job on the night too.
That's the other thing I was
Had a
just
bit of work
going
to
to
do.
say as well, in regards to your point that he always turns up, Njelki. Man, a lot of fighters don't turn up. We don't mention their names, of course. They don't get on the card. But, I think we started off with 16, 17 fights for this card. And, we would have started with a lot more that didn't even make the 16.
It was 16
so
and
many
4 MRIs came back with further testing needed, which scratched, like he had said, he's never had that happen before. I think he said he's only in the history of DFC had 1 MRI come back.
Man.
In all the previous events. And this
is
had
terrible.
4 in one go.
This promotion had everything against it on this particular night. There was five other MMA promotions also on the 26th of February. 25th. I think one was, of course, was it Hex? No, it wasn't. It was Demolition, which was the night before. And you see these two amazing referees here who were actually over in Melbourne refereeing the night before at Demolition Fight Series, and then flew over. And of course, we were very lucky enough to have the best refs in Australia, of course, in Glebe Kleinjohns. And
It was a crazy weekend for sport because we had the same thing with arm wrestling. So we had announced the 25th as our date for the Arm Wrestling Entertainment, AWE inaugural event. And like 2 weeks later, one of the other big promotions in the world announced, 25th of Feb, that's when we're going to put our event on. It's like, oh, man.
yeah.
So 4 MMA, was it 4 or 5 MMA events on the same night?
6 MMA events in the whole of Australia.
Wow.
As well as probably about 4 or 5 Muay Thai cards on within the week. And then, of course, Boxing SA, we normally have a boxing ring as well at Apex Sport Fest with about 20 great boxing fights as well. Boxing SA thought they'd do us a huge favour in doing their own event on the same night as well. After obviously we put out the date and everything, and I don't know what the politics or what the story or the egos were going on there, but it was really disappointing.
This is fine. We could have just come and done it at the
guys.
Apex.
Yeah, work together. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I guess the whole ethic behind Apex is to provide a platform for sports that aren't necessarily commercially breaking through at this stage, like BJJ and Sambo and boxing for as long as it's been
to that
around.
BJJ comment, do you?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Well, you've mastered the art, so.
As an expert, you would be offended.
The doyen of BJJ.
Yeah. So
Have a drink.
So and the reason I've just paused on this particular fight, as we've been chatting away, is because there was a real back and forth here between Harry Horsell and Sean the Irish Curran, and we're just right on screen right now is Sean Curran being counted out, and now I mean this was quite an eventful fight but these guys had a great chemistry in the cage, didn't they?
He got the count. I forgot that.
Yeah. So
Is this the same shoe
bang.
thing?
No, this was under MMA rules from memory.
K1, I think.
K1 rules.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why you got the
Yeah,
count.
K1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sorry, yeah.
I was excited to see this fight. We've seen both fighters just do so well. Just absolute gangsters.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they all landed.
Yeah, great win there.
Yeah,
He really wanted it too because it was.
And that was just the end of the round, by the way.
That's not the end.
That wasn't a stoppage. That was
No.
Yeah.
Did you go with decision for this one?
No,
it was a finish.
KO.
That's
KO.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a gritty back and forth. Like both guys gave it everything.
And we're having fun. Like they were having fun. Like they both ate punches and
look at that.
loved every second of it. You know, the back and forth and the great camaraderie of these two athletes afterwards as well is just something that reminds you as to exactly why martial arts is such a fantastic sport to be around.
Yeah.
It's like that at the elite levels of BJJ. Rich.
I wouldn't know, mate. But you know what? It's a totally different game altogether. You know, there's a lot of
and you can just see this is just before I think the last round of this particular fight. It might have been the
Just
second
giving
round.
his expert opinion there.
Sorry,
he's so rude and disrespectful. I don't know.
but both athletes are hyping the crowd at the same time as they're touching gloves and relishing the moment. Little bit of showmanship by the Irish.
Very exciting fighters, both of them, aren't they? Harry and the Irish.
This was a great fight to put on. I mean, both guys seemed around the same sort of skill level, and they're both going for it. I mean, both throwing
that was
everything.
That was Harry's comeback there. There was there we go. Look at
There
this.
we go.
That's just amazing. Bang, bang.
That's right there.
Oh!
Wow.
Yeah, it was like they both agreed for that 5 seconds. Okay, fuck this. We're going at
nuts.
it. We're just going to stand here in a phone box and we're going to go.
And Harry's
and
legs.
one went down.
Yeah. I mean, they both look. This is the lead up. 1, 2 to the body. Catches him on the
Harry
chin.
was landing here, which is almost
put him on the chin.
His detriment.
He's ducked
Missed
under.
that big hook
And it's
there.
And now that's
right
that right. Oh.
Harry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just.
Lightning Harry.
And the doctors
Oh,
intervened.
this was incredible. This moment. I don't know if you saw this, Dave. So Harry's been basically
I was there.
completely flatlined. No, if you saw this, and
Yep.
he's been knocked out like he got shot by a sniper. Like he's dropped like
Yep.
a sack of potatoes.
He was
He's on
out.
the ground, out for I don't know 20 seconds or something. And then they've gone up, and the referee is considering continuing the match. And I was like, he's out. He was out. You can't continue this match. This is insanity.
Maybe he was enjoying it too much. He's like, can we have more? Can we give you 30 seconds and let's go
that
again?
would have been one
But
of
you
the
can see
worst
Harry was trying to
calls.
shore himself up, and I reckon another 10 seconds he might have conned both the doctor and the ref.
God, if they did that literally would have been one of the worst referee moments I would have ever seen.
Unless Harry would have won, in which case, legend.
Shut up, Matt. Yeah. What a fight.
Oh, Matt with his rules. Fighter safety.
I can't believe it. I was like, they're counting him. He got knocked out.
Yeah, I reckon a rematch for those two is on the cards, surely.
And that's exactly what we've been talking about on Facebook.
Oh, it's been back and forth already.
Boys. Let's do it again.
Yeah, that absolutely
You
has
could
to
watch
happen.
that fight every weekend and not get tired of it.
Those two young fighters were almost worth the price of admission in themselves.
definitely.
They're both excitement machines. Harry Horsell has got a spectacular future ahead of him. He was in the Muay Thai ring for the first
Three Apexes.
for the
He's
two.
3-0, and I think he's only ever fought under Apex, Diamondback.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously not lost. And I think most have just gone exactly, well, not most, all of them have gone exactly the same way, been absolutely outstanding, exciting fights to watch. It's like the Irish. He's never had a bad fight either, and that's why it was such a good matchup. You've got Firecracker versus Firecracker.
Yeah.
And Jermaine Guglielmi was part of the fight of the night against
Sadiq.
Sadiq Sifi, and Sadiq taking it out on that occasion. But both fighters earning the admiration of the crowd. And again, Guliami didn't disappoint, neither the crowd nor his mum, and did a spectacular job, but just didn't come away with the win on this occasion. Somewhat less eventful matchup than his first in the DFC, but I'm sure he'll be back.
Well, and that's what Perry Smith from ATT had to do. He had to make it a little bit more boring. He didn't want to stand and strike with the Muay Thai striker. Perry's got a big Taekwondo background, but look, he's training with a lot of likes of Josh Coolabau, who you were able to have a little chat to, which must have been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Spur of the moment.
Yeah, and Perry did what he needed to get done, which is to use his grappling and to take away the striking of Guglielmi. The Geez, I say it like an Aussie, don't I? Guglielmi, mate.
Yeah, the G's are Y. Just think of it that way. Guglielmi.
I think that's going to make it harder for me.
And it's not Yuliami. The first G is the G, the second one's a Y. Guglielmi. There we go.
Yeah, Perry did well. He's another one who you might want to have a chat with on the podcast and get on there. He's a really upcoming talent that I think we're going to see big things out of.
He looks super sharp, very professional, well paced.
Yeah, that's the thing with the decision you've got to make as an up and coming fighter is if you're more dominant in your wrestling and grappling and you're fighting a striker and it's like I want to use my wrestling to win the fight. But I know people won't like that. So you've got to sort of make that decision. Well, I mean, the end goal here is to win, but I want to entertain the crowd. And you see sometimes people sort of that should take things to the ground because they are so dominant
They
there.
get sucked in.
And they go, oh, I'll just stand for a little bit.
This was a bit of a dirty matchup for Guglielmi. You know, I felt like he didn't really get the freedom that he wanted in order to have the space to throw some of those punches and kicks that we saw from him in his first appearance in DFC. And on this occasion, he was brought to the mat. And
there's a difference, isn't there, from somebody that it's like, yeah, if you're a grappler, but you're a submission artist or you're a ground and pound specialist, that then in terms of, yeah, let's take it down, and the crowd's going to love this. Like, I'm going to pound this dude out. You're going to see a knockout here, or you're going to see a choke. Whereas the opposite of the smothering style, and that's where it's like, oh God, don't put that guy on the card again. You know?
Yeah.
Perry Smith was very, very technical, and he was very methodical on the 25th, and did very, very well. And Guglielmi is it a little excitement machine, and I'm sure we'll see him back. But on this occasion, he didn't take home the chocolates. And
it's a good fight though.
Good represented himself well as you'd expect. But
I'm just happy I said his name correctly.
Perry is a young man who spent 4 or 5 years growing up in Japan.
Really,
in some pretty big dojos over there, and then hunted around when he came back. I think he got kicked out of school, basically, talking to his guidance counsellor. I said, I want to be a UFC fighter. He was like, oh, you lack the discipline.
You go to Japan. You study with my master. You will come back different man.
Yeah,
you will win DFC 60. I see it.
So this was when he was a teenager he did this.
Yeah, and he was 16 and he dropped out of school just to actually focus on fighting 2 years ago. He went around all the clubs in Sydney and found a real good home in Igor. Just felt the best there. And
there's Josh
Coolabau and Alan Philpott,
popping him on the shoulder.
Same club, really training well with those boys. He is a young fellow who you think, geez, you dropped out of school because of a lack of discipline, but you want to be a fighter. Probably not the best choice. But seriously, I watched quite a good interview with him where he just talked about, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I never go out. I don't go out with all of my mates who want to go out and all the girls. I don't want a girlfriend for that very reason. He's just completely chopped off everything kind of fun in his life at a very young age, which I'm really impressed with. It's sort of like Louis Passon is very similar. Does not go out, not interested in any of that because he's got a goal in mind.
Yeah.
And at that age to have that kind of maturity and making those big decisions like that, but to follow it through for year after year, and you're not even fighting yet, you're just training. Really, really serious young man. Even he's a real joker, a real fun personality. But really impressed and happy with Perry to discipline himself. throughout that process, and he had a disciplined fight. He came down, he was really serious, and then he could, have a bit of a joke after it. But he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? When somebody around that age, you see, especially with young men, that are sort of sitting in a classroom at school, that they're bored, they don't want to be there, they're not interested in anything that's happening. And there's just like, I don't want to be here. They're either going to sit there and be miserable, or they're going to act up and be like, this is not right.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you can find an avenue to put that energy and that interest, and especially something like martial arts, which, on the surface you go, oh, it's fighting, great, fighting, awesome. And then you go, wow, this is such an incredible amount of discipline in this area to become good at it and become humble and to meet incredible people and have amazing experiences, and potentially fight on big cards in front of thousands of people. That's an avenue you'd rather be following than, why waste your time sitting in the classroom if you don't, if you're never going to follow an educational path, then, follow your dreams.
We're just on screen right now is Joe the Vanilla Gorilla Brown. How impressive a young man is he? And not just a fantastic personality, but physically he's imposing. He's really taking his time in the cage now. He's got his eyes.
He did in this fight do exactly that, didn't he?
Yeah. He didn't rush himself. He really thought it through, and Joe goes from strength to strength, and this was another W for the Vanilla Gorilla, and from Cardio Flex in Adelaide, and he'll be looking forward to a title shot. It's certainly what he called out for in the post-match interview. He leant over and said, "Dave, do I get the mic after this?" And it's like, Joe, you get whatever you want, mate. You're anybody who's got money for nothing as their walkout song is going to get
that song. I think what a shit song, Joe.
Bring back Sweet Caroline.
You know how we was talking on your last podcast? I've got this mystery song that I'm going to come up with, and he went back with the money for nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what the other song was?
I do.
Oh, well, okay.
This
is Daily Combat
the mystery
exclusive.
song, and I'm like, it's going to be something really completely different to Money for the Nothing. You know what it was?
Sultans or something.
It's like you rehearsed that. That was so good.
Timing, baby, is everything.
Completely different.
It's another
gonna blow your mind.
It's a fucking Dire Straits song. It's another.
It was another. It was Sultans to Sing.
Was it?
Yeah, it's another Dire Straits song.
It could have been.
Sultans swing.
Probably.
That's the one.
That's the one.
It was that.
It was Sultans to Swing.
Really? I said it was a joke.
It probably was.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, okay, that's great, Joe. Have a great fight. Lucky, hey, whatever does it for you, Joe. But yeah, this is a disciplined approach as well. I thought he looked really comfortable the whole time, don't you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he controlled the whole fight here. I mean, even in his, we're watching it on screen at the moment. His just takedown defense just looks solid. I mean, his opponent sort of tried a few different avenues, couldn't find purchase in anything.
Just hopping around on one leg, comfortable as.
Yeah, and one of the difference here was Blackman was making a step up in weight class here.
Yes.
And had to put on the weight, and Joe Brown has to lose about 48 kilos in order to make weight. A hydrated Joe Brown's about 10 kilos heavier than weigh-in Joe Brown, and
It's leaking blood. The Blackman there is. Joe's landed some big punches, and he's
these kicks to the thigh were quite telling. You do see a bruise emerge on the hamstring of Blackman. I'm sure he would have limped the next day. You can actually start to see it already coming up, and as we speak, as we're just catching this footage right now. So within the period of maybe 15 or so seconds, this bruise really starts to develop on the.
Do we have a light heavyweight champion for DFC?
We do have a light heavyweight champion for DFC. His name is Damien, coming for the honey.
Oh, of course.
Are you even there, bro?
I thought Joe was in light heavyweight. He's middleweight, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
Middleweight.
amazing.
Is there a
isn't it?
middleweight champion?
I think it might be him. Yeah, I'm probably wrong.
I can't say it's been contested over recent times.
Yeah, no, not that I can remember.
It'd be nice to see Joe with that strap around his waist.
Yeah, well, he called for it after another convincing victory, and some of his recent opponents have been very, very impressive, and Joe has been able to come out with W's left, right, and centre, and certainly stamping his authority over the middleweight division, and serving notice to all the heavyweights out there that if they're walking around with a strap on their shoulder, he wants to take it off of them. So,
what do you think of the hands at your waist style?
Well, you see it sometimes, but it worked really, really well in this fight, as you see right there. Because of he's taller. You see him doing it in training. It's his thing.
Yeah.
It's if you have a guy who comes into for their first class, you're not going to teach him that.
Right.
It's the worst and the opposite of it takes a very skilled elite level striker to be able to do that. But the great point and advantage of it is if you're a fast striker, the punches obviously you do not see them coming.
That's right.
Whereas, but of course you can't defend your face too well.
That's true.
But you notice one thing about him, it comes from his abdominal area. He's quick. And not so. You see a lot of people use footwork to get out of the way. He does this a lot, up and back. Move.
Yep.
He baits with his face forward and then pulls his face back, and then bam, comes out of nowhere.
He did mention on the podcast that it's about metering his range and understanding that he's. That's where he's asking right now. Can I have the mic? And so, yeah, you can have what you like. I ain't saying no to you. Very impressive moustache.
It's a very Max Holloway style. What do you think with that leaning forwards, hands
Great
down?
call. Great call.
Similar to that. But he's, same thing. Moving, he's there, he's in your face, but really, he's not. He's way back here.
Yeah. He's baiting the whole time with his face, saying, and look, he's got the reach advantage on this guy as well. He felt really comfortable with doing it. So future fighters fighting Joe, be wary of that. These punches are going to come out of nowhere.
Two very good moustaches amongst those two young men. I will just highlight for those that don't have the benefit of
brings
watching.
you back to the 80s cop movies there.
Yes.
And then he goes and says hello to Josh Coolabau, who's just coming into the cage now.
This is a nice little interview with Josh Coolabau, and what a nice young man. It's just a delightful chap. He popped into the cage with very little notice. So from what I understand, the promoter just asked him if he'd be so kind to come and have a bit of a chat and amp up the crowd and share some of his thoughts and experiences.
Yeah, he was actually, and this interview is quite good. We'll let it play out.
But it all started from humble beginnings. It wasn't that long ago that you were here yourself in the DFC cage.
Yeah, it wasn't that long that I was fighting, in this same cage, fighting for a title, and DFC has always treated me well. They put a good platform for everyone to sort of bring you up and into the UFC. So it's like, it's a really good platform for if you guys want to get to the top. It's a good platform to get there.
And Josh, so coming up now, so you've had your victory now. What are the plans for the future?
I'm straight back into it, straight back in the gym. My coach isn't letting me have any time off, and we're straight back into the gym, hoping to get a fight announced soon, hopefully.
Fantastic, Josh. And what are the few of the lessons that you learned in fighting in the DFC and working your way up, and maybe some thoughts that you'd like to share with some of the young fighters that are here tonight?
For all the young fighters, just keep your head down, work hard. There's no secret to it. There's no special move. There's no secret sauce. It's literally just hard work, and that's going to take you places. And obviously, try and stay committed to your team and loyal to your team, and that's going to get you far. So yeah.
Fantastic hearing you're accompanying some of the fighters here tonight out of Igor as well. So some very impressive performances here this evening.
Yeah, so we had Ben with a first round knockout with his hammer fists, and then we just had Perry win third round TKO ground and pound finish, and then we have Brandon who's going to be taking that lightweight DFC title in the main event. So yeah.
Sounding very confident there, and a few boos on the background here. Might have been the opponent's mum just back there, unfortunately, there, Josh. But Josh, thank you very much for coming into the cage and sharing your thoughts and being part of the DFC family. It's been absolutely amazing having you here and being part of your journey. Thank you very much. No worries, my absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Coolabau!
everything was that was a great little interview, and your questions sounded like you knew this guy inside out. And I think you'd heard about this dude about 10 seconds
I was
before.
yelling at Dave. I was like, he just fought 3 weeks ago. I've got a rear naked joke. He's the featherweight champion of DFC. He fought here.
That was the information. If it wasn't for Bruce
Kuya.
Warner,
Josh Kuya, cool about.
Well spoken, nice young man there, doing very good things in his MMA career. So great to see.
Absolutely fantastic young man, and was very gracious in that interview as well, and great for these guys as well. Like great for Josh, and an opportunity to chat in front of such a big crowd. Next time, hopefully he's edging himself closer and closer to a belt, and has that opportunity to do that in front of tens of thousands of people and millions of people watching from around the world. So it was. Josh was very gracious in accrediting DFC as one of those platforms that enabled him to get to the highest level of the sport as well, which was absolutely spectacular.
If anyone that is doing an interview last minute like that, Dave, what were you? Because it felt very natural from the questions you asked. Like it's like, oh,
Have you heard of Josh Coolabou before?
No, not.
What's his nickname?
No, I didn't know
the
because you
rainbow
had made
serpent.
you hadn't made one up, so I didn't know.
Who did he fight for the featherweight championship on DFC 6?
Not sure. I'd have to
Jose
go
Aldo, who came out to the Sultans of Swing.
See, but one of the difficulties and one of the reasons why we do this podcast, by the way, and it's almost been 2 years. I was reminded the other day. So we'll be in June, I believe. Was because Ike had literally asked me in the depths of COVID whether or not I'd be interested in announcing, as the regular announcer wasn't travelling because of COVID, and had decided it might be time to hang up the mic and retire at that juncture. And I was one of the few people that he knew personally that had actually...
Where did you meet Ike? How did that relationship
I
start?
went to school with Ike. So we went to high school together. And dated for a little while, and but we went to school together, and then we kept connected. There was probably a time of disconnect, I will say, actually, and as we were both growing up, and then we reconnected down the track and through mutual friends and the like, and then I'd hosted some Christmas carols, just some community events, but a couple of these events one had 5,000 people and one had 8,000 people, and so I was like the Carl Stefanovic of suburban Christmas carols. So and so Ike said, "Look, you're one of the few people that I know that's actually stood up and spoken in front of more than 10 people. Is this something that you want to do?" And it's like,
that was a big call.
What a good choice.
I've been waiting for this call. I've been waiting for this call. And I said, sure. I love the idea of it, and I've been to several of the DFC events, but as a fan and not not paying any attention. Just turning up and watching and drinking too much beer and having a good time, and not really paying attention to what was going on with the ring announcer or anything else that was going on. And then
did you get free tickets?
Might have on one or two occasions, maybe.
I think he knew the guys in the hip hop crew.
Yeah. And shout out to Sammy, DJ Sammy. And then so I got the call up, and then I thought, you know what though, I wouldn't be doing that job any justice if I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And so I thought,
tell us about the process of what you went through and what you looked at and so forth before you did your first show.
So essentially I thought, first and foremost, I better watch some videos of Bruce Buffer and find out what this is all about. I
need a suit. I need.
Well, I was already a fan of Michael Buffer, and I loved the story of Michael and Bruce and how they came to end up knowing each other after. Because for those that aren't aware, Bruce and Michael, although they had the same last name and the same job, had no idea that they were related, and so it wasn't until Bruce was like 37 years old that he realised that he was related to Michael Buffer, and then they met, they connected, and very fortunately,
it's not funny, Matt. Take this seriously.
It's so ridiculous.
And I just love that story.
Funny because it's true.
that
I
they
don't want to interrupt
reconnected.
Dave's story.
No.
Too late.
You know, and as somebody with a bit of an estranged a relationship with a sibling, you know, I thought
half
you know
brothers
what
or full
half
brothers?
brothers, I
Half
believe.
brothers,
I think
yeah,
the dad was the
that's,
connection.
That's why they.
Dad was Mike Tyson.
That was spinal. And so yeah, and they reconnected, and from what I understand, and this could be wrong, that Bruce Buffer then became Michael Buffer's manager and helped register Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
It's true, trademarked it,
and now Michael Buffer makes more money from the trademarking of Let's Get Ready to Rumble than he does from announcing. And so Bruce had already had that experience of registering its time and, you know, all the video games and all the stuff that rolled on from there, and saw that there was an opportunity for Michael.
Is this why you're creating those special little one-liners?
just in case Bruce Buffer decides to trademark it. Yeah, so he can get ahead of it.
This is what you came to see, the DFC.
This is what you got to see. Hang on, that rhymes with UFC.
Get the lawyers on the phone.
And so I was already fascinated just of that story. I was aware of that story, and then I watched longingly on to a couple of those DFC shows, and saw the announcer doing a fantastic job, and when I got the phone call, I remember exactly where I was at the time. But I got a phone call, and
sauna.
It was a deep sauna with Joe. That was the interesting thing. Joe Abella was there and said, "Was that
A
Ike?"
deep
And
sauna?
I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Does he want a sauna with us?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, fuck it, hang up." No, and so that came about, and so several weeks later, it's the first. Hang on,
Dropping roll clean soaps everywhere here.
Oh, that's okay. It just makes the whole room smell even better.
Are you able to pause the fight because we want to talk? I don't want to miss the fight because
so-
I want to hear your story, but
Yeah.
I don't want to have to search around.
I want
for
both.
this.
No.
No, I want the story.
So Ike gave me the call up, so to speak, and when it had that first event there at
He must
at
have seen
Apex
something
Bookfest.
in you. How were you calling those carols? And the next carol!
Silent night.
Well, I'm an
You
auctioneer.
thought your night was loud. Get ready for silence.
I'm an auctioneer by trade, so they might have had some sense that there was a little bit of that inside. I don't know, but it was one of those opportunities that literally.
Maybe you announced Santa Claus like in a real special.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time.
The man you've all been waiting to see.
It's Christmas time.
He's made a list. He's checked it twice.
Who have you come to see? So we found ourselves at the penultimate and co-main event for the evening. Now we've got Damien.
I wanted to
Where's
finish
the
the
rest of the
story.
story?
No.
We were
invested.
I think it ends up in happily ever after.
What about the first time that you went out
deep
the
in
door?
the sauna, massage some gay guy.
Joe, yeah. We finished the game massages, and I'd finished, and
I'd finished.
Deep tissue.
deep, very deep. And I said, "Okay, Ike, I'll do it."
Did you say yes straight away on the phone?
Yeah, for sure I did. Yeah, I didn't know exactly what I was saying yes to, but I did know. I knew roughly what it would be, but I enjoy the performance side of those of the whole craft, and I just knew if I'd said no, the opportunity was never going to present ever again. You know, so and I also had faith that Ike wouldn't have asked me if he didn't feel like I could do it, because I know how hard both him and Greg have worked in order to build the DFC brand, and how they how it's very
Big shoes he was filling as well. Jimmy White is Australia's most known MC in big MMA events for many years. He's a real personality. He's the opposite to you, Dave. No, I don't mean that in a bad way. He's the opposite personality.
doesn't like gay
to you.
saunas. What do you mean?
Yeah, he's like
Don't we all?
well, he's got that black guy vibe, you know. He's like that black, smooth talking, you know, like glides across the floor rather than walks across it. Kind of Jimmy White.
Yep.
And you.
I pound the fucking floor.
Yeah, no, he's like a
Would he
totally
get
different
Giuliani's
version.
name?
I think you're the best for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's just very different to Jimmy. But did you watch? So you watched a bit of Jimmy's stuff?
I had seen Jimmy live, and I watched a couple of the DFCs recorded as well, and what I surmised from that was that Jimmy really brought his personality to it, and that's what you saw, and that's why people loved him so much. And I thought, well, I can't be Jimmy, and I'll just be the best expression of myself.
Blackface.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that, but no.
Didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I didn't actually do it, but I thought. What was really cool was as soon as I told my mate from Lamilago Milap, who's my tailor, and he was more excited than I was because he went, you know what, I've been dreaming of this moment. I got this idea. I got a velvet jacket concept, and anyway, so
and it was born. That jacket was insane.
That was the moment the jacket was born.
If you had a different jacket each time,
that was the red jacket. So I've worn the velvet jacket for the Apex Sport Fest, and I think for maybe one of the Adelaide Oval shows, but I've also mixed it up with a couple of other items.
Nice blood handprints on the back.
Yes, from one of the Pride Fight Series events that are called for Carly. Which one of the referees patted me on the back, said, "Good job, Dave," and straight after he just separated two very bloody fighters, and so I had a beautiful blood handprint right there in the middle of my back. Which
so I worked with you for your first one, didn't I?
Yes, you would have. Yeah, 100% you did.
What was it like the first time you went out to mate and they gave you the mic and they said, "Way you go, mate"?
I think whenever you're in that situation, you kind of it's the culmination of all of the things that you've done before building to a particular moment, and you kind of think, well. And I think in that case it was the Nord Oval, so it was exactly this setting, and the grandstand was full, and you've got all of the lights on, and my main concern was stuffing up, not for my embarrassment, it was for the fighters. I understood how hard it was, how difficult camp can be, how hard it is to weight cut, how the sacrifices these fighters make for months leading up to this moment, and for me to then arrogantly go out and mispronounce their name would not only upset them potentially in that special moment where they're trying to be in the zone, but their friends, their family, their supporters, all those people watching online, and go, "What a fucking dickhead! He just fucking fucked up the fucking name. What's wrong with him?"
We've talked as well about how much that happens. I mean,
it does.
We've seen that happen, especially we're not talking the top echelon UFC in Australian promotions all over the country. 90% of the time they will fucking get it wrong.
Yes,
and just exactly that ethos of hey, it's we want to get everything right. It's about the same ethos that we have in commentary as well. Talking to the fighter and say, look, what is the story, or what are the things that you would like us to mention?
Yeah,
and just getting things like that right, showing that it's a passion that really shows through. And I know that you did that from the word go, it was brilliant.
There is that difference, isn't there, from somebody who they just hired to come in.
They'll come in, they're Mr. Plastic,
bring the
fantastic,
dude in from
they don't give a shit about
somewhere,
the fighters,
and they're like they give him the card, and they're like,
they get it all wrong, and they just go home, take their
you can
paycheck,
feel the
see you
difference
later.
between yourself, who's you can sell. It's like you either know these people, or you've met them, you've talked to them, you've spent time to learn.
He asked me a million questions before everything, before every event, like, what's this guy? How do what's the name for this? What can you tell me?
Can you put chicken salt on chicken?
Can you put chicken salt?
He
Big questions.
Yeah.
Well, and it's exactly the reason why this podcast exists, is because I thought, I don't know enough about that world to feel like if I'm standing out the front, and for Ike and Greg, this brand that they've created and all of the work that they've put into it, that's a trust that you can't break. And if you are that face, then you have a duty to represent
Yeah.
that brand in exactly the way that they want to see their brand represented to the greater world. And so that it's a multi-level thing. One, you want to be really respectful to the fighters to make sure that, you know, they hear their name and it's up in lights and that they get a buzz out of it. And I would say one of my most rewarding moments so far as an announcer has been when Talia, the Great White Great, when Talia it came and said, "Oh, you know, I'm the Great White, by the way, you know, so that's me. So I'm the Great White Greats," and it's like cool. And then so Talia, the Great White Greats. Yep. Okay. Cool. Okay. So that's what we'll announce, and that's what we'll do. And then, anyway, and I think this was maybe the second or third event that I called, and it was at the Adelaide Oval. And when I called her name, you know, she got such a buzz out of hearing that, and you know, we did a little fist pump in the middle of the cage, and it was like
Do the fist pump more.
Yeah, and that was the
fist pump to the fighter.
That's
eh?
great.
And that was a moment where I thought, yeah, okay, well that's nailed it. And now that fighter's in that zone where they're ready, like they know they've got.
They dream about that moment, about hearing your name called out
Yes.
with a voice like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like.
I'm getting goosebumps.
So it's like, you know, you get to you give something, like it's free, it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't cost anything, you know, it's free. It's just
You can't pay for moments, though. You've created
true.
a moment. It's an art form. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a 1 in a million people who could actually produce that. So I don't know how Ike got it right with
I just guessed.
what he did.
He rolled the dice. God bless him. Like it was, I mean, it was one of those things that, you know, it was funny because I'd always held that ring announcer role in a great deal of reverence. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm constantly just repeating ads that I heard on TV when I was a kid, and just like a fucking idiot. And so to have that role where you get to really, you know, give something to somebody, you know, where, you know, that's a moment they'll have for the rest of their lives. If you nail it and you get it right, for them, that's the biggest, you know, thing that might, you know, that'll be one of those things that they take to the grave, you know. And so for me, it's a huge responsibility to get that right. And so, you know, I guess the first thing was I didn't want to get the fighters' names wrong, and of course, you know, with you and already having that rapport with the fighters and talking with them, you know, it was like, oh great, now I've got a conduit because there's no manual.
Steals off me.
Yeah, all the time,
Which is great.
So
Because we're all just a team. We're like a little family, you know. And
yeah. Well, there's no manual on how to be the ring announcer.
No,
And it's
that's
like,
right.
okay, well, I'll find this out, and who's my guy? And it's like, Rich is my guy. He knows it all.
I'm his inside man.
Yeah, he's my inside man. He knows all the nicknames, or he's made them up, or you know. So we're gonna get, you know. And so Rich will have those, because Rich is behind the scenes as well. For those that don't know, Rich will spend literally, you know, weigh-ins and talking with the coaches and talking with the fighters themselves and finding out what's going on and getting some lowdown and making sure there's a. So when you're hearing the call, you're getting like little tidbits of information that's
cheating.
ties things together, and you think, oh, how did he find that out? It's because he's done all of that work, not only the research before, like all the stuff you can get off ShareDog and all of that sort of stuff, but
Straight to the TAB afterwards.
and then he, you know, then what you find is that
So fun.
Yeah, Richard loves every second of it, by the way, and he's got his A4 exercise book, and it's just fucking notes scribbled all over the place. And the night before the weigh-ins, I'm like, what are the nicknames? And Richard's like, okay, I've got a great one for you here. You know? So there's the text back and forth, and then what we found now, because a lot of these fighters, they might be fighting on debut, or they've only fought once or twice before, and of course you can't rely on what you see on Fight TV or whatever, because, you know, that ring announcer could have got it wrong. So it's like, well, you know, how do you say Guliami or whatever? And so we use the weigh-ins as that opportunity to just make sure the lights and the cameras aren't on yet, you know, so don't be embarrassed if I say the name's wrong, you know, come up and let me know. And if you've got a great nickname, you know, and you haven't already told Rich or whatever, let us know. And so the fighters or their families or their coaches will come up and say, okay, you know, like In for the Kill for Till, for instance, you know, I think of the weigh-ins, I might have called it Fatali, for instance. That might have been the name only because I had a friend that had a name that was very similar, but with a different first letter.
Was it Fatali?
It wasn't. It was yeah. It was Matani, which ties into your chicken salt narrative. Can you put chicken salt on chicken?
Can you, though? That's the big question. That was after the Wayne's question.
Yeah.
So, Joe Brown, can you put
chicken salt on chicken?
You've won the title, but here, this is more important. Put the belt down. Where are you going?
So we use those weigh-ins as a chance to make sure that we've got it right for the night and as much as we can, and then go, because for us at DFC, that's like super important to make sure that the fighters are getting their moment. And
most weigh-in shows in Australia are literally at a pub, and a guy with no mic will go, Harry Smith, Michael Clark, come to the front, excellent, do your face off, wade in, excellent, next two. Yeah, that's what it'll be like. So I love that we care about. Thanks, Dave. I love that we care about what we do, and we want to. It's as you said, we want to make it special for them.
Yeah,
and it's not about us; it's about them. But you have a role to play, and the creation of the what do you call it? The act that you put on.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. You nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? The other funny thing is like the first time, we. And I remember my first time, I was fairly new to commentary when you started too, but it was like, we make a few little mistakes and we talk about them after, and we're like, oh, can you believe I said this? Oh, what a dick,
Didn't have the microphone on.
But,
the whole event.
The worst one was, I probably wasn't even your fault. You're probably just saying what you got told to say or whatever, but I think you called out one fighter. And it was the other guy, so the referee's like, no. He's like, oh, okay.
The wrong winner?
Yeah.
The wrong winner.
Yeah.
But
we don't talk about
Australian
that.
Idol.
Until Dickhead brings it up, But every event, there's been lesser mistakes. Oh, okay, much better. And I think now we're at the state where we're perfect.
Yeah.
No, literally that last one.
That was seamless,
flawless.
Yeah.
Flawless.
Well, the interesting thing is like that. I distinctly remember that moment actually, and it haunts me when I make a mistake. Like I'll be in the shower and I'll just let out a cry like, oh
yeah, fuck, can't believe I got that wrong.
And this is like 4 months afterwards. Like this is, it just
burns, doesn't it?
Hangs with me, and it's like, and it's not just my I'm embarrassed that if I get something like that wrong, but it's more like it's so. It doesn't do any justice for the two men that it's all about. There's those guys that are just fucking put themselves through hell for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then if that wasn't enough, let's put ourselves through some fucking fire at the end, and then some dickhead, some fucking idiot in a stupid jacket says the wrong fucking name. Like,
no, because they know you before this.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah. See, that's what they get with you. They know that it's not some guy in a silly jacket. They know you care. They know that you want to get it right, which is the main thing. You know what I mean? It's the attitude.
Yeah. But we like I say, it's and I also think like through familiarity and through this podcast, which thank you to everybody that watches and to our wonderful guests that come through, including Rich. We it really does. Cheers, Rich. Cheers, mate. And your good health.
I finished mine for sure.
And to and
love to try it.
And so we. This makes it all the easier. As a result, we've got now some great relationships with these guys, and it's a wonderful gift, and to have not just our guests as part of our little community in our lives, but on fight night, the great gift is that we get it right more often, and hopefully all the time, and that's. The difference between the DFC being this and the DFC being that, and everything that they do is so on point that to be at the pointy end of it and to not deliver would be it would certainly serve as an injustice to all the great work that Ike and Greg do and you guys do behind the commentary desk to make it such a professional outfit.
Does this feel like I mean, even speaking to Louis, speaking to Brandon White, speaking to Gary Neugebauer, and these guys. Even, I mean, Gary and Brandon from Interstate, and it's like, but we still had the opportunity to talk to them. Thankfully, they wanted to come on the show, and but it was great because we did get to talk to them for a little while.
Are we losing Dave?
Bathroom break. Yeah.
He's going for a little pee break, everybody.
Get out your way for you. There you go. But yeah, to have the opportunity to talk to these guys before the event, and then when you see them there in person, it's like, and you've already chatted for 40 minutes.
Yeah, it is cool. I love getting to know them,
right?
Rather than because when you watch the UFC, you only unless you watch a lot of the the embeddeds and all of the other stuff, you don't really get to know. That's why the Ultimate Fighter was kind of created, I think, to show the backstory and show that behind every fight there is a huge story on each side, and then both stories come together and it creates a whole nother story.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're really lucky, and I loved going up and saying hello to Josh Coolabau and then having a conversation and going, what is this guy really like? Oh, wow, he's a humble, fucking smiling assassin, this dude. He's like the nicest guy,
Yeah.
And, getting to know Volard by your podcast and things like that you guys are doing. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's really
privileged.
I feel, privileged, absolutely. It humbled, it was so strange for me to be there on that night.
We are massive
Oh,
fans.
absolutely, yeah.
That was the quickest piss in history. Just push it out like a monster.
Oh, yeah.
Dominated.
Did you win? Yes, I did. I love it. And
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We might just, if you can, stop casting for 1 sec. I'll just see if this is gone.
shit.
Otherwise, we
Dave's-
might get half of
Dave's
Rich's face.
Banging and clanging.
This is the sacrifice we go to here. People try to get a show together.
We're
Try
not
to
even
sit
talking
in
about what we're meant
position.
to be talking about.
No,
at
this
all,
is
are we?
this is what it is. We're talking about the fights and the
Yeah.
fight card. This is the game, and this is what we were talking about. But in terms of the psychology of the ring announcing, and it's almost the same. I liken it to like a stand-up comedian in a way.
Yes.
Where you are now the focal point for everyone
Imagine
in
the
that
pressure.
arena. Yeah, and it's like
the pressure.
you really do.
How do you handle the pressure?
Well, you really do control the mood of that show.
Fewy drums before
Lots
they
of-
get on stage.
Lots of lines of coke back around the back there.
Yeah,
But
lots
if-
of heroin.
But if you're doing it right, and the audience will move with you,
That's right.
and you'll feel everyone's
Yes.
done that, and then especially
you
if
feel
you're
that,
building
Dave?
that excitement, and everyone's like, "Oh yes," and then when you say the announcement,
When you get a lot of reaction off the crowd, don't you? A lot of call and response.
Yeah, a little. I think I think that like the role of ring announcer is very much to give people a sense as to what's coming up, what to look forward to, but also to amp them up. You know, when sometimes there's a lull. So it can be like 3 or 4 hours during a card, and sometimes you need to kind of build a little bit of excitement. Sometimes you need to ride the wave of excitement.
Have you ever been tempted, because you know how Bruce Buffer was your idol kind of thing, yeah? Have you ever been tempted to steal his line?
Secret
And
brother.
now It's time.
Oh, so
Well,
accidentally,
Three
right?
rounds in the DFC Lightweight Championship of the world.
Like
I
the
did
vibrato
receive
on the
I did
seat
receive an email from legal representation to suggest that if I ever felt inclined to do that, they'd like at least my left nut. And the left nut, well, the left one's not the good one, by the way, but I'd still like to keep it. I'm very aware as to the copyright rule.
Are you
laws.
really?
Yeah, you're very cognizant of it because on Fight TV, we don't want to upset Fight TV. Fight TV have been wonderful supporters of the DFC, and the DFC obviously are a standalone organisation and are very much deserving of their own call, I would say.
So that is a copyright thing if you said it.
Yeah, it's trademarked.
It's trademarked. It is trademarked. So if I was to say it, there could be a cease and desist letter in the inbox by the time I step off stage. Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. So
The UFC, well,
and it would be to the DFC, more than likely not to me.
if you see at the end of a UFC broadcast, they'll have their credits, I guess, who the producer was or whatever. But right at the end, they'll actually say these are all the words that are trademarked and cannot be used, and there's about 40 of them. And it's like octagon, you cannot use octagon.
Yeah, it's in the cage.
And any other, I'm sure that the DFC is not an 8-sided cage. It cannot be legally because that's trademarked to the UFC. Yeah.
PFL is 10.
Oh, there you go. That's why. Yeah, you can't do 8. UFC is trademarked.
It's a decagon.
It's time. There's so many, and it's right at the end, and you can just pause it and be like, "Oh, I didn't realize."
This is the level of nerd we're talking about.
It's very nerdy. This is very nerdy.
This guy, he'll watch the subtitles that nobody has ever seen.
But that's
like,
why
maximize them on screen, enlarge them, and then read all of the copyright shit.
Yeah, but if you ever see any other cage fighting event, it will not be an 8-sided cage, and if it is, they probably won't be on a show on after that.
Yeah. So I was very cognizant of that, and also highly aware that Bruce Buffer, and I say Bruce because in the trade we just call it. By the way, anybody listening, Bruce Buffer has no idea who I am. But Bruce Buffer and Michael Buffer have built whole careers around their catchphrases. Like, if you're, and people say, oh yeah, it's just catchphrases, just serious words. But here's the thing, these guys have made an entire, not just a career, but they've made an industry out of creating moments. And you do not get paid for all the years building up to it. You do not get paid for even the 3 or 4 minutes that you're standing in the cage making announcements. You get paid for those moments. And when you think about Bruce Buffer and Michael Buffer, it's those, I won't say the trademarks, but it's those moments where you go, let's get ready. And it's like, oh, he's gonna say it like this is the moment.
And everyone's like, yes.
Oh! Yeah. And those guys, for the alchemy that led to them coming up with those catchphrases, those sayings, those things, it's what excites millions and millions and millions of people, and it's the reason why Michael Buffer, for instance, to this day is just still asked to call the biggest fights in the world, because when you hear those words, you know that shit's about to go down.
That's right.
You got the silkiest vocals. You've got the guy, and when you hear Michael as opposed to Bruce, for instance, Bruce is balls to the wall. He's leaving nothing there's nothing left in the tank. He's giving it everything. And Michael is actually super composed and reserved, opposite, and really the opposite. And
nothing moves except for his mouth.
Yeah.
Do you know Bruce Buffer has got elastic stretch special made pants?
I've spoken to my tailor about it. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think once he pulled a hamstring mid call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
I did hear about this.
Story.
Continue on. Oh
Yeah.
my God, there's a
I
story
haven't
you
heard
don't
this
know.
story.
And was it? And he's jumped. And
He's jumped,
and he's turned, and
he's done the big. You know how he did the 180 turn to the other fighter,
Yes.
Yeah.
and in the red corner.
Yeah.
And he's done that, and he's just gone.
oh,
Fuck! Yeah, he's got elastic stretch on the inside, I think, so that he can do his acrobatic.
Do you know why he does? So he gets his card and say that's the corner he's introducing, and he'll be like, in the red corner, and he'll point at this corner first, and then he'll quickly slip and go at the other one. He said he did that because he got it wrong one night, and he was pointing at the wrong corner, and then he realized and went, oh, no, it's the other one. And then he's like, that was kind of cool. I'm going to do that every time. And for UFC 100, because he would do that was his little thing, and then the other side he would swoop that way. And UFC 100, he did a Buffer 360 where he introduced Brock Lesnar, and he did a whole, he spun in the air, complete 360 to do his little he said
it would only happen once though.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's done it since. That was the only moment.
yeah, and he's very, very careful. Like when you see him with his cards, he'll raise them, and he's talking, but he's talking to there, and he's just reading the inside of his card as he's calling it. It's quite fascinating. And I think as somebody who's new to that craft, to be able to see what he's doing, it's just absolutely, amazing. You know, you can kind of pick up on the little elements that bring together that performance. And one of the things I really admire Bruce Buffer for is his not just his love of the sport, but his real love of that tan that he's got. But that moment that he's got with that athlete, and especially in those big title fights, when he's right in front of them, and there could be 20,000 people in that crowd, but it's him and that athlete.
Yeah.
And he's able to bring it from. He's talking to millions of people, but he brings it down to it's you and it's me, and this is our time. Like we've got like 15 seconds together to make magic, and he's got this spectacular ability to be able to just pull it all in and to make it this, and then all of a sudden we're just watching. Yeah. We're just watching Bruce Buffer's show, and we're watching this relationship that he's got with this guy or girl, and this special moment that they're having. Like we go from, oh, this is going to be the best fucking fight ever. This is going to be amazing. This is huge. This is what we've been waiting for. To look at that. That's a moment. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, and we're back. Okay, well, fucking And it's just it's that's the alchemy and the genius of the Buffer brothers, that they've worked out that this is all about moments. It's not about the lead. It's that's what it's all about. That making that moment count. And
it's a replay value as well, isn't it? Like every time you go back, it's like to find that little bit, because you get that feeling again. It's like, oh, there it is.
See it, you see he's got a very, very special connection, and I think in part with Talia, for instance, that night that was my little moment of that.
I want to see you doing that exact moment with Damien Vola.
Oh,
because you've got a great relationship with the honey.
Pooh Bear.
Yeah. Well,
let's see that little moment.
I don't know where that moment.
Did you do a 50-50?
No, I don't know if we did. And I think what was interesting about this particular fight, with respect to that, the fighters were very, very receptive. Gary was very receptive, and I think in part because
he was lovely, wasn't he?
He was a nice guy. Yeah,
Gary's an awesome dude, and fucking hell. Look, is he a beast? Like, my God! Like, lucky there wasn't a fitness physique fucking competition on that weekend. He would have taken that out and then turned up to the DFC afterwards. Like that guy
just walk through walls, can't he?
Oh my goodness! And I think Damien might have had the comment that you looked like you were getting hurt by him, and Damien's like, no, I was just like, and it's like, but you might have had that conversation with Damien, but you got to.
Did you say that to him?
No, I think you might have mentioned it. Yeah, I think you might have mentioned it. But I
thought that was at the pub later on. But
it could have been. I remember overhearing
it was in the post-fight speech with you that he did say that the punches were landing, but he didn't get hurt by them.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
We talked to him in front of the pub. I was asking him that question.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Damien.
Like, nah.
Yeah.
I thought he is.
And to Damien's credit, I would say in that moment when you are being hit and you've got your game plan, you know what you're working on, you're like, okay, that hurt a little bit, but that's okay. I can take 20 or 30 more of those. I'm here for the night. I'm betting in here, but Gary Neubauer, I mean, look. I mean, that actually does not give that.
You interviewed both of these fighters actually, so you've got a good relationship with. Can we listen to the whole thing? Listen to you do your little call.
Sure, I'll
after I've talked about you for an hour. So
let's just skip that. No one wants to hear that.
Let's see the magic in action.
All right. Well,
Damien coming for the honey. Or did you say Damien Pooh Bear? Which one did you go with?
Well, we'll see.
There's a familiar voice.
Banger. It's a real banger.
Harry looks the real deal tonight, doesn't he? He's serious. Yeah. Look, he wrote on his weigh-in picture last night, something like, don't do a challenge that you don't really need to win. Something along those lines. He has the self-belief. And Vola, with a 5-fight win streak, enters the cage. Hopped up. Former gridiron. Superstar in massive win streak of 5 wins in a row.
He'll be looking close to going pro if he wins this still.
This year, he's looking to take all the belts. He says
I'll actually say of the fighters of that night, the one that I got a great reaction from was Sean the Irish Curran. When Sean jumped in, he jumped into the cage and he really thudded his feet down, like he just jumped, and I did the same at the same time. As he was coming in, and it's like bang, and then he had the call after that, and
Was
it
it
was
like a trampoline when you both land
I
at the
did
same
go up
time?
'cause he-
You're like, "Ugh," like one of you goes, "Ugh,"
like
the
a
other one
waterbed.
goes,
So Damien
Did we
Pollard.
miss your call in?
No, that was
No,
as
that
good
was.
as it gets.
I think because the music was playing at the same time, it wasn't.
Excellent production values. Look,
This was interesting. So, from my perspective here, like Gary was very accurate with his punches, and he was sitting in the pocket with Damien. Damien was fighting off his back foot most of this fight.
Yes.
With Gary coming forward with a very accurate jab, and he landed a lot of these jabs and then some straights as well. He was looking very comfortable on his feet.
I don't think.
Look at that.
I
There's
don't
three
think
in a row.
I don't think Gary ever was on the back foot. Like he was
right.
marching forward.
He came for it.
Yeah. He was, and if a punch came his way, he was eating it. He didn't care.
That's right.
And
His hands
there
are
it is.
not protecting his face the best there. He's definitely just in for, I'm throwing everything into everything here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was left jab, right overhand. That seemed to be the strategy here. And when you see somebody like Damien, when you see somebody like Gary, I should say, marching towards you, there's got to be some degree of hesitation, doesn't there? It's like,
He wouldn't need to swing big swings to get a lot of power. A lot of shovel jabs, punches,
like
like
that.
little uppercuts, boom, boom, boom.
some people said, he looked a little bit starchy and a little bit, but he Neugebauer. Yeah, some people have made mention. It was just kind of, it was too muscle bound and he couldn't kind of. But from my end, he was snapping. Like you see that left, that was snappy. That was snappy. It was coming in with a snappy left, and his right follow up was pretty formidable. And you can see Damien here breathing heavy. He's starting to.
He's walking backwards.
He's
the whole
walking
time.
back.
He's
Just
caught
copped two big right hands.
and it looks like Gary's
Uppercuts.
only throwing punches here, and Damien is throwing a bit more of a variety of attacks and throwing in mixed with takedowns. So maybe something for Gary to work on in the future is to vary his attacks.
I'll also say, Damien kind of works off a reputation of not being, the most muscular or the most in shape in his weight division, but he looked good.
Peak male performance.
But he's telling people he looked good here. This is probably the best condition I've seen him bring into a light heavyweight fight before, and he looked good. He did not look like he was purporting look at him there. He looks good.
Yeah, weighing down on Gary here. The plan, I think, originally was to tire Gary out in that first round and then take him down in the second for a TKO.
Would have been really nice to see what would have happened with Neugebauer in the second and third, especially the third. What do you reckon?
Well,
I think it would have ended in the second.
I thought this
think
was a bit of a professional foul because this knee did seem to come in significantly under the groin there, and I just wonder if Gary was using that as a rest opportunity, and a bit of theatrics there with the heels thumping into the canvas there.
He's trying to get the balls to drop, haven't you? Before? Shake him out.
Just get.
It's a breathing. Both guys
But
breathing
how
a
much
lot
is
of
it?
punches.
Look how pumped his shoulders are just from holding them up. Like his traps and his shoulders and his T section. He's just he's just pumped just because he's got to hold his elbows above the normal parallel.
That's one of the prices of being muscle bound in a way, isn't it? Those muscles need a lot of blood, a lot of oxygen, and when they pump up,
He literally looks like the chesty bonds, man. I mean, look at that chin. Like the guys that doesn't have a neck. Like he looks like he's.
So now Damien's stepping it up with some straight jabs, some hooks.
This is Damien getting on the offensive now and starting.
Oh,
to,
that right hand.
And that's what he was waiting on, wasn't it? And
can you replay it again?
We can
just go back
replay
10
that.
seconds?
We can.
Because Neugebauer with his jab was coming forward, and Volar timed it.
He did.
So he
So I think-
stuck his chin out as he came forward.
Al- almost out of that rest period,
That
wasn't
was
it?
sort of trading jabs, and then he, instead of doing the jab again, he went to the right hand.
Right hand, yeah.
Straight
it was
right.
4 lefts and then a straight right to the jaw.
Yeah, let's
So-
watch it again.
Damien seemed to walk away from that little break that Gary was using as a bit of a rest period. Gary came back with the same kind of strategy.
Yeah.
And Damien's ring craft, I think, really came to the fore there, where Damien thought, you know what, I'm going to up the tempo. I'm going to change up the game a little bit. I'm going to be on my front
He
foot.
changed the timing.
I always feel that Gary could have used that opportunity to rest a lot more. He looked like he was very, like, I mean, watching this back, he looks like he's breathing quite heavy there. If you get the opportunity to take, you get 5 minutes
Take
for
it.
a grain shot.
Take
grain
it.
shot.
And,
We've all
and
had
even
shots
that,
in the
even that
balls. I
left,
wouldn't be taking 30 seconds. I'd be
Gary's first left there was quite good, and he's gone again.
look-
3 lefts in a row,
So 1,
4 lefts in a
trading
row.
lefts,
So
trade lefts
straight
again.
from-
Boom.
And
there it
we
is.
go. There's the right. Straight across on the
Do you
chin.
like the left? Do you like the left? Bang! Here's the right hand. Yeah.
Whereas Gary would have probably gone with another left. And you just
Yes.
feel that was the difference in that fight. I don't think Gary did too much wrong, apart
It's
from
the timing.
Yeah.
So he's stepping forward, throwing jab, stepping forward,
He-
throwing the
he's-
jab. And he went to do that,
steps
and
into it.
Damien threw the right hand, caught him on the jaw before he got the jab out.
Gary. It would appear that here Damien had given a lot more thought in that rest period to, okay, well, I may be looking like I could lose this round. I'm not going to
Jab,
lose this round.
Steps forward, jab, steps forward.
Leant
Yes.
back.
See
leant
the step
back.
forward? Exactly right. He stepped.
And if we go back just 10 seconds, we'll go back 10 seconds here, because what we'll see is that Damien actually leans back on this last left jab that Gary throws. And from that point, that's where he leans forward with his right and captures Gary. And that's the end of the fight, essentially, as Gary goes to the ground and he gets finished.
Beautiful straight punch, wasn't it?
Yeah, watching it back, it is quite a nice feature to see, because when I was watching it live, you know, it looked like, okay, they're trading, and now Gary's gotten hurt and gone down. But seeing this back, it's like, I see the strategy that Damien was employing here, and yeah, that he's really timed what Gary was doing as he got tired. 4 minutes 50 into the round, and he's pumped up, he's breathing heavy. He's thrown a lot of punches, and he's only sort of resorted to, I'm throwing a jab and moving forward. I'm throwing a jab and moving forward. And then bang, right hands come before the jabs come out.
Yeah.
I also noticed something really weird. I don't know if I should say it, but
Matt Estevez.
if you watch the last, I should have probably said it when it was on, right?
Okay.
After the kick in the balls, I probably get it wrong, but I think there was 13 seconds on the clock. It shows clearly on the screen, right?
That's right.
13 seconds. Now I got my stopwatch out, and I timed that 13 seconds.
Just now.
No, not now. At home.
Oh,
And I watched it like 5 times.
that's a long 13 seconds.
I recorded the time again.
But
That person who was on the buzzer calling the end of that round was late.
Oh.
So that right hand,
how many seconds?
about 1 to 2 seconds at least out.
There
So-
is a delay
Technically,
of a
do
second
you wanna watch it
from
again? Do you wanna
broadcast.
watch it
Sure. Let's bring this up
let's bring the
because
stopwatch out.
this is
Because we should call Gary and say, it's forfeited, you get to fight again.
You're
Gary,
actually
you're
the title
back, mate.
holder.
and
You
it-
win.
But in the meantime, Gary's put on 35 kilos.
It's now super heavyweight.
Gary's like, I'm just like the Cheetos now.
All right, so I've got my stopwatch. See if we can...
Okay, so
Do we hear a
we're back
horn at all for
Here
the
we
end
go.
of
This
the
is
round?
the replay. You'll have to go further back.
we have to
with
go
the actual
further
fight.
back. Here we
Sorry,
go.
Dave.
No, don't
I'm
be
not sure if
sorry.
it's a
I
point
thought it got-
worthy of note at all. But
No.
Oh, it's interesting.
Here we go.
point.
With 13 seconds left.
Okay,
So
yeah,
this
13
is exactly
seconds.
the point.
Watch, I'll press
30
start.
13
When you say
seconds.
start, I'll press start. Okay?
Watch for the referee to do the hand signal.
Okay, so it's like, here
Ready?
we go.
And
Here we go.
time in.
13
We're on,
seconds.
yeah?
Boom. 12, 11. We're at 10-ish. So
5 seconds it's counted.
Okay.
7.
There's the left. There's the
9,
third left.
10,
There's the
11,
fourth left.
12,
and the fifth left's
13,
come. And then
14.
boom.
Oh,
There's the right. 14.
No buzzer.
15.
No
There's still no buzzer.
Still
and
no
it's-
buzzer.
And I stopped that a few seconds earlier, so that's
15.
So
15.5.
I stopped that with the right hand.
So that
that's-
punch might have
Oh, you
just
stopped that
come.
with the right hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's
it's probably
about 18
18.
seconds.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Maybe the guy with the bell was like watching it. Oh,
Yes.
Hang on,
He
hang
only
on.
needs a couple more seconds.
Yeah.
I
Hang
don't
on.
need to hit the buzz again.
Matt Estevez has the bell.
are you serious?
No.
Fairview cheater.
That's amazing.
But you know,
So I was right. It's
But-
like 5 seconds out.
Yeah, you're right.
here we go. So it's the
you wanna
left. Here's another left.
I bet the
and then boom.
timekeeper was watching the fight and it was like, "Oh, it's a knockout!" Ah, and it's like, "Dude, you're supposed to hit the button."
And you know,
Could have changed things.
Gary's just been.
Gary's going to see this and go,
Gary's
fucking
been told.
cheating us South Australians. You
Those-
said you're going to be fair to me.
Yeah.
And and there it was.
That's so funny. Look, Matt
and,
Estevez has got
and
the buzz.
Gary's such a nice guy. Straight over there, he's congratulating his opponent. There's no bad blood whatsoever.
No.
He's a bit upset that
He's
you
just
know
disappointed.
he felt he was really in with the chance and had been performing very, very well up until that right cross and
Yeah.
and of course the Damien coming for the honey Volar / Pooh Bear, aka. I mean, he's got a few of them, hasn't
We
he?
should give him some more names.
Yeah, I think we'll just load it up. So when he's actually up for a UFC bout, we make Bruce Buffer's job hard.
He looks a bit wild. It looks like a wild man with that hair. The beard is all over the place at this point after a fight. But yeah, the funny thing was after the event, so we were talking out by the chicken shop, and you were there, and Damien came up, and you said, "Oh, when are you talking to Damien or whatever?"
Yeah.
And he's going, "Yeah, and I've got the XFC belt, I've got the DFC belt, I'm coming for the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award."
Yes,
and
he
then,
did.
And then a big group of people went, "Hey!" Like, like they knew what it was. And I was like, "How do they know what that is?" It was so cool.
See? People know.
Yeah.
Come and get it, Damien. Come and get it.
People know.
Look at that. Look at that. It's
Exactly what would happen. Have you got the cross lotto numbers, mate? Because you seem to be able to tell the future.
Nice line.
Yeah, scrap season began late last year, but it's rolling into 2023. Just gonna still this for a few minutes. First and foremost, dedicate this win, this title to my beautiful little baby girl, 3 weeks old, Galatae of the world. Yeah. Secondly, you probably think we're all fucking warriors getting in here, but I tell you what, a partner that becomes a mother given labour, that shit's some true warrior stuff, so shout out to all the mums out there. My sponsors, American Motors, go big. I went big, baby, I'm on that check. DC and role playing the OG, doing me since day one. Recover right massage, keep my body in full performance. But this is what peak performance looks like, people, so get used to it.
Tyson Fury line there.
At least he didn't sing a song at the end
Oh,
of
that's
the
true.
He sings Sweet Caroline.
He did. And everyone was too scared to take the microphone off
Yeah,
of him.
you can't sing, dude.
Don't give up the mic. Rule number 1.
Well, first of all, actually, secondly, where the fuck's my second bell? Where the fuck's my second bell? Baby. Here it is. Woo! Yeah, that looks good, baby. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Ready, he's on a run for all the belts. These guys aren't on my level. I'm showing why I'm levels above the competition. There's no one that can save me at 205. I'm too big, too strong, too athletic, too fast, too technical. No one can compete with me at the 205. So, any 205s out there, want to run it? Let's run it out there. But yeah, there ain't no light heavyweights that can stand bang with me. So yeah, Oreo, get ready, May 27th, XFC. We're gonna run it. See who the number 1 is.
He's going to take one of the
Ladies
belts
and
first.
gentlemen, this is your new AJ Light Heavyweight Champion!
Coming for the honey, and he got his honey. Well done, Damien.
certainly want to buy you a beer after that.
And cuts a photo of the Element team in their Pooh Bear shirts, just as you will see the young man across from the table,
Old man.
adorned with the same regalia right now.
Yeah,
and
super proud of my awesome T-shirt.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
cool.
a lot of support for Damien. A lot of those T-shirts floating around throughout the
Huge
night. It was
fella,
awesome.
yeah,
It's so cool to see that.
Yeah. It was.
You
was
got to
great.
get one, right?
You were swapping shirts several times throughout the night, depending on who won.
That's right, I did. Only the South Australian fighters though that I
You had
did.
3 shirts on, and it was like, oh, they lost. Don't take that one.
Yeah, well, I had this young man's shirt on, Louis Passon, home crowd favourite, obviously been on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Huge,
Louis is a fantastic young man. He's a very, very dedicated. Stellar performance at the last Apex event against Samuel Njoki, who also appeared earlier on in this card. And on this occasion, Brandon White had his number, although there was a lot of back and forth, Rich Warner, with this one.
Yeah, look, Brandon is a well-composed fighter. He doesn't waste energy. He doesn't waste movement. And that's the kind of the best thing that I could probably say about Brandon White. In all of his fights, same thing. And the second thing that you'd notice about Brandon, and that he mixes up his kicks. He does a lot of low kicks, a lot of body kicks, and then he'll throw the occasional high kick. Striking, as in punches, would be secondary to his kicks, I would have thought. He waited till the range was there and the range was right before he threw anything. I thought he did really, really well. But, of course, we love Louis and we're bloody disappointed. Not in him, but for him. And, we absolutely love him. I thought, to be honest, he was maybe a little bit second to the punch in this first round, which caused him to be a little bit impatient. And when he was impatient, he came forward maybe when he shouldn't have. And that's what that shovel straight right punch that White dropped him with was. He was against the cage. Maybe could have looked for a clinching position, but came forward with his chin in the air.
It's because he landed a shot just prior to that.
He was hungry.
And that's very much the junkyard dog style, isn't it? He's there to scrap. He's there to punch on. He's going to walk forward. He's not going to take a backward step, and you see it as well. He's the aggressor. He's moving forward. Cameron's measuring the range and being economical with his movement. Let's just rewind that. We'll go back 20 seconds because it was a startling knockout because it did not look explosive. As somebody standing there, I had to.
It was the opposite to Harry Horsell and the Irish, where it was a massive, beautiful hook. It wasn't from a long distance, a perfect long, big hooking distance, big overhand right or anything like that. It was fairly close, but it was just that Louis was moving forward at the same time.
Doubles impact.
Doesn't need to be the hardest punch because if he's moving forward, you've got twice the power.
Exactly. Yeah, you're moving your body weight in momentum into something that's coming the other way.
Spot on. If you watch it again, you'll see it.
I've got a feeling a replay will come up because I've just tried to replay it. Here we go. Anyway.
So Louis lands something and then moves in, and that's
he lands the body shot.
There it is.
It's the body shot that lures him in, and then he gets caught with that. It's the left, isn't it?
It's right hand, right shovel,
shovel. Yeah,
just a very short,
almost
almost a jab, almost a right jab.
And what you don't see in these images is the team eager to get into the cage, eager to support their athlete.
He wanted to jump in, but the doctors are holding him back. The officials were stopping him to go back in because they wanted the doctors in there first.
The officials are saying, no, we need the doctors, we need them in. And at the same time, you've got an athlete that's celebrating, and Cameron White, who is obviously excited. Sorry, Brandon White, my mistake. Sorry, Brandon. Brandon.
I hate those commentators that don't get the names right.
So it's not that man's on the left, man's on the left,
and Brandon's there wanting to celebrate the moment, but by the same token, a little unable to enjoy that moment completely as Louis obviously...
Just come over and give me the fist here, look.
Yeah.
There you go. A little bit of love.
Yeah. and a really nice young guy too.
Yeah.
Cameron's was a delightful guest here on the podcast. The whole team are fantastic and supportive, and Cameron there starting the celebrations now. It's all
It's sunk in now.
It's sunk in. I've won. It's mine. I don't have to be too keen to celebrate. I'm going to get my moment here inside the cage. This is my moment now, and
shock the world.
Yeah,
Great win. He looked amazing throughout the fight. I mean, both guys moving really well, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Rich, with saying he was varying his kicking. It didn't see many kicks from Louis at all. It looked like he just wanted to go boxing range. Brandon did a great job keeping it at kicking range, and then using his striking as Louis was coming forwards and then disappearing, getting out of the way.
it was so evenly matched until that point, and it's if this had maybe pressed on another round, you'd almost say, look, a rematch is on the cards, but because Brandon was
for a main event.
yeah, a great main event, and you can see that Louis got this really entertaining style. He's
Kill or be killed.
Yeah. Even when he's on the back foot, he takes two little hops back, and then he's bang straight into it. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And then it's two little hops back. He gets a kick. He's straight back into it. Like there's no stopping Louis Passon. Look at that. There he is again. He gets hit. He takes half a skip back, and then he's launching himself.
With this left hook, he lands to Brendan's temple, and if this is the finish. Oh no, it was the eye poke. Sorry. So with the finish, Louis lands a left hook to Brendan's temple and then moves straight into a counter right hand. So right there, and then bang.
Yeah.
And then, and that's almost an instinctual reaction from Brandon, isn't it? It's that's just the instinct of, I've got to throw something now to stay in the game.
As soon as you see that the hand's not in front of that face, there's an opening and you've got to go.
I'd be really interested if even he saw the window or just threw the punch.
So the hand's not in front of the face, it's open.
And
hold on, it's here.
Here we go.
It's here.
And he sees it, and then boom. Yep.
Jaws ready.
He definitely
ready
saw
to
it.
be taken.
Yep. He saw it, and then he had his head down, and it just landed so sweetly. That was the real story. Credit to Louis. He got up. He stood beside his opponent and took the L and let Cameron have that moment of victory. Yeah. And all credit to Louis and the CardioFlex team. Had a tough night, CardioFlex. In this case, and a lot of people might be aware, but Craig Ike was on site from the wee early hours of the morning right throughout the day, and at this stage it's almost 11 p.m. and he's been not only on it all day that day, but for the 2 or 3 days before, had to try and rematch several fights unsuccessfully. Yeah. And the fatigue and everything,
the pressure,
that pressure.
His phone does not stop ringing, and it's all bad news. And it's like, okay, I've got to fix this now. Shit, what am I left with? Oh, how do I do this? And it's just the support and relationships that he has that he's able to fix some, most things. Yeah. To come up with a great card. We were really lucky. We had 11 out of 11 great fights. But I call him the Magic Man, and he laughs at me. But it's a bit of a shit thing to call him. But he's the Magic Man. He makes magic happen where things are just, Scheissenhausen.
Well, Josh did call it, mate. He said that there was every chance you were going to be walking out of here with a strap on your shoulder. And so tell us, mate, there's obviously a lot of people to thank when you're on this journey in MMA. There's perhaps a few of those people. You
see Greg's face in the background there. He's just disgusted.
Yeah, it's like my family, my friends, people that deal with me when I'm an arsehole, to be honest. I got one thing to say. I'm actually a featherweight fighter, so if you want to do double champ status, then just call me. There you hear it, ladies and gentlemen. He's under another strap just to balance out those shoulders. Your new DFC lightweight champion, Brandon. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that draws our night to conclusion.
Great fight. Both guys put on a fantastic show for your main event. A co-main event, the whole card delivered. What a solid card that was. If anyone paid for that, they got their money's worth, that's for sure. And we'll see Louis back in at some point. I'm sure he'll readjust and come back even stronger.
Well, Louis had 2 chances at titles now and has walked away unsuccessful, and you'd like to think third time's a charm. And
his only 2 losses have been title fights. That's shit, isn't it?
Isn't
Like
it?
Uriah Faber.
Isn't it? Yeah, so he's due.
Yeah, he's the Uriah.
He was like 5 title fights.
Come
lost
on, Louis.
all. We're trying to give you the title, Uriah. Just take one.
I thought he was a shoe-in for this fight. If you would ask me, Rich, you get all of them right. You're just a genius, Rich. You're the doyen of the DFC.
That's what we say.
Well,
Not only are you an
I fucked
expert
it
in
up.
jiu-jitsu.
I had Louis all the way for sure.
Yeah. Well, we would have loved to have seen Louis walk away with the belt just because we love Louis. And but Cameron, a worthy champion. Brandon. What do I keep saying, Cameron?
Because you don't care.
Brandon.
You just don't care.
Fucking hell, Brandon. You know what's going to happen next time I see Brandon? He's going to punch me in the fucking face.
Brandon.
So Brandon, just a spectacular result and well-earned victory and
kicks. Great kicks.
Great kick, so economical in his movement, so measured in what he did, and there's it's not through any fluke that Brandon walks away with the victory there. Brandon was very definitely a worthy champion and walked away with the belt, and it would be great to see him defend that belt in upcoming DFCs. He's an entertaining fighter. What a cracking finish! I mean, it's very, very convincing, and no less convincing than Louis' victory over Sam Njoki just 12 or so months earlier, and that's what elevated him into that position in the first place to fight for that belt. And Brandon, of course, has shown that he's well and truly a worthy champion. And Brandon, we look forward to seeing you again as being part of the DFC. And
He's going to have to come back and defend.
He's going to have to come back and defend the leather and the brass. They don't stay on your shoulder for fun. You've got to come back and defend it. And I'm sure Brandon will be ready to do that, and seems keen to also seek out any lightweights that might be in his way. And
featherweights.
He won the lightweight championship.
Give him Shane Mitchell if you like.
Yeah. Might have to wait until after the PFL. That was your full wrap up. It wasn't the only event going on the 25th, as you were saying, Rich. We had Demolition. They ran their event conveniently on the same night.
Mate, I don't know what the go is with all the promotions going, oh, you're going to do it on this night, so are we. Yeah, let's steal these fighters. And we even had our own Andy Carp, who co-commentates with us. He went over to MC Demolition Fight Series. What a traitor he is.
So he's off all future cards.
They had Demolition, Hex, they had Eternal MMA, another
boxing.
Queensland promotion as well. Yeah, just ridiculous, dude.
Yeah. I mean, Australian MMA is such a small community, and to not get something so right as let's give some fresh air to each other so that we all get an opportunity to shine.
Come on.
Not only that, but there's only so many camps, and there's only so many teams and clubs that can contribute. And
by the way, just to put down people at the same time, I saw some really shitty cards as well. Ours wasn't, but I saw some shit ones where I'm like, you can't match these 2 guys up. This guy, and so forth. And I'm like, man, they must have been desperate, just like we were.
Squash match.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Do you think Brandon White sounds very much like Daniel Johns from Silverchair?
What, in terms of his singing ability, or in terms of the phonetics of his name?
His voice is exactly the same.
Really?
It's exact.
Can we hear him again? I'm not sure.
Oh, we've got the podcast, but maybe I'll throw in a little voice comparison that I heard when we started. Within 2 sentences, I was like, Johns. That's Daniel Johns' voice. There's a certain sound at the end of a word or a sentence that he does that Daniel Johns does.
They're both from Sydney.
Yeah.
Sydney, I don't know.
Okay.
Could
Be
from Newcastle. Could be a Newcastle.
Could be a Newcastle thing. Maybe. Who knows? We don't know.
It's the important questions that need to be answered.
And so hopefully we can have Brandon White back on the podcast so we can get these questions answered. Yeah.
It's them long lost brothers.
Are you related to Cameron White by any chance? Is there any connection? I don't
Cameron
know.
White.
Is he your nemesis? We don't know about. I don't know. I mean, massive card. DFC continually put on these quality cards and really do strive to put on a fantastic event, not just for those that are watching online, but for those that happen to be fortunate enough to be there in person. And we saw some early knockouts and stoppages which is actually unusual, but we saw some pretty spectacular finishes, as well as some great standout performances. And Rich, if you had to identify a fight of the night, where would you put it?
Damn. There was so many.
No, you have to.
Do you
have
know
a
what?
favourite.
I'll give you my favourite moment of the night.
Yep.
Was because it happened right in front of us, didn't it, Matt? Isaac Richards, when he laid that kick.
That was amazing.
It just was the hardest slap. It was the cleanest kick you could ever get. And then he finished it with the right hand. Mate, hard to beat
Moment
that
of
one.
the night.
That was probably knockout of the night, maybe.
The bull cat.
For me.
There's only one submission on the card, which was Joe Brown. The rest were TKOs and knockouts.
Yeah. I thought Joe could have finished that anyway. He wanted it.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I think he was like disappointed that it went to the ground because he was like, all right, I guess I'll choke you out.
I like Joe Brown's little bow as he entered into the cage. I thought that was quite an honourable, traditional kind of. I think there's just a little bit of Bruce Lee in Joe Brown, just between you and me.
Fight of the night for you, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, I got to award it, as it turns out, and
it was an official one. Okay.
Yeah. I gave a performance of the night. Yeah. Well, I think it's because I had the novelty check still left over.
Scribble out there.
So Joe Brown got my performance of the night. I thought that he was measured. I thought he was of the fighters, because there's a degree of fighters. There's a percentage of fighters that might be on their debut or within their first few fights, and I thought that Joe's fight was one. It was a very mature fight, and I thought that he was quite measured through his performance. He had his range right. There was just enough cockiness with his hands down, and he did finish with submission. And there was some conjecture over exactly what that finish was. I don't know if you called it or not, or what it was.
Was it a rear naked choke?
Rear naked choke is how it was called, but it could have easily been a face crank as
that's
well.
Right. It wasn't under the chin.
And from what I understand, Joe's preference might have been as a face crank, but
it's a little bit more humbling if you tap out to a face crank, because it's more from the pain as opposed to being blood choked.
Yeah. Whereas the rear naked choke is what was called by the judges, and that's what we went for. But I was literally told, well, either way, it'll be fine.
The Boston Crab.
Yeah. It's the same kind of submission, but it's just a little bit higher. And as you said, one's a blood choke, one's pain. So we'll show you later.
Yeah, watch out for that one. So
in the sauna.
So Joe got that, and not only that, but Joe is working up and building momentum for his own title fight, and so he had the presence of mind post fight to say, Dave, I want the microphone, which, by the way, not all fighters get that opportunity. So, if you're just calling out for the microphone for no reason, the promoters do get a little bit upset if you're not in line for a post-match interview, because there's schedules to keep to and people to keep happy, of course. So, but in this case, Joe turned around and you might have seen in the broadcast, said, "Hey, I want the mic." And
he's upset with himself though, because he reckons he only said half the things he was planning, and he went blank.
Hard
and he's
in the moment.
I'll just give the mic back now. So he might have to ask
mind
him.
you, last time he did throw out a call to the Daily Combat podcast. So So
all night, all day.
That's what we got. And in the moment, I didn't even realise that's what he was doing. I just kind of laughed along, but it wasn't until afterwards I watched it and went, "Oh wow, look at that! He did it. That's so cool."
Yeah.
So that's still our pin to top on our socials. If you happen to jump onto the Daily Combat podcast Facebook page, that's exactly what you see. That you'll see the Vanilla Gorilla giving us a shout out. So, but overall, spectacular night. Great performance. And for anybody that's been watching this podcast, that was just the icing on the cake. Literally, it was all part of the Apex Sport Fest, which is run by the same men that are behind the Diamondback Fighting Championship, and those guys worked tirelessly to bring a very unique event to Adelaide, and that event was all day at the Nord Oval. We were very fortunate to be part of that event as part of the AWE, and got an opportunity to do our thing, and was given a platform thanks to Craig and Greg and the whole team there at DFC, but there was BJJ, there was medieval battles. There was
Strongman.
There was the
Arm wrestling.
the FEMA guys with the swords for sword fighting, and all of that medieval sword fighting. Yeah, amongst it all, it's
Rugby
easy.
was good. I enjoyed watching rugby.
The rugby sevens. Yeah. That was a real feature of the day as well. There was the hip hop guys.
What was your favourite moment
Apart from the hip hop,
Or the day.
of the MMA card?
I think Brandon White winning the title. I think
Whoa.
that even though we love Louis, I think that was such a perfectly timed counter right, and Louis said afterwards, he goes, "I didn't see it coming at all. I don't even know what hit me." So those are the ones that put you out because you can't brace for it. And if you were moving forwards thinking you got something, and then you're suddenly waking up going, "What happened?"
Yeah.
Well, and what for me, it's post fight. It's seeing how Louis has reacted to that, and the humility. Like he's coming out to chat to you afterwards, and made himself available, which it'd be easy for an athlete that's just experienced a knockout to easily go within themselves, but he's taken that opportunity to come over and have a chat about things, and then post fight, Louis' posts have been didn't go my way, I'll be back, and and acknowledging not diminishing the accomplishment of his opponent, but being very, very respectful, and so to me, it's those moments after the event that really ring true and tell you about the essence of some of these fine young men and women that put themselves in danger for not just so that they can test themselves, but so that they can serve as an example to us all as to what we can be under fire when we're put to the test.
Amen.
He didn't make excuses, didn't say, "Oh, I had a bad camp" or anything like that. Just said, "Look, just I zigged when I should have zagged," and that's the game.
Yeah,
I've got a rumor for you guys.
Oh, I like a rumor. Gary Neugebauer's coming back.
Sleeping with Tim Rogers, a DFC champion. Famous Tim Rogers. He's been training under Trinity MMA for quite a number of years. I think he's a bit more of a coach there these days. And Jesse Medina. Jesse Medina was fought at Demolition Fight Series from Mildura Martial Arts. Yeah. And, absolute...
Funky Cold Medina? Is that
that's the one. Jesse Funky Cold Medina. And he beat Rudolfo... I'm not sure if I'm saying Rudolfo or Rodolfo. Scotch.
Rodolfo.
Please don't hit Rich for saying that wrong.
Yeah.
Rochambeau.
He beat him in Demolition Fight Series just on the same, actually the night before on Friday, and then we were on Saturday. And there's been little bits of chats. Tim Rogers has had an injury for the last little while and has been looking to make a comeback. I've been speaking to him in the background. Somebody called out on social media this week. Jesse Medina's win wasn't quality, and he got a little bit lucky with it, and a bit of disrespect there to Jesse Funky Cole Medina. And then one of the South Australian boys said, we want to see Tim Rogers from Trinity versus Jesse. And then both boys got on the chat and started chatting and said, I'm down for it, I'm down for it. So I reckon on July, I think the 2nd, the next DFC, that could be possibly a title fight.
Wow.
South Australia's Tim Rogers versus Jesse.
Weight class, are they?
Good call. I don't know.
Are they big guys?
Feather?
Oh, the featherweights.
Probably about... Oh, Tim Rogers, I think the reason he got into it because he lost 30 kilos, so, who knows where he could be. But possibly featherweight, I'd say.
Otherwise, catchweight. We'll just call it and get them both in there. Why not? That's a spectacular matchup.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we...
Yeah, that's great.
A little bit of... I love the rumour mill. That's fantastic. It's great to see that something like that's developing in the background, and it's more call-outs like that I think the local MMA scene needs. So, that's your wrap-up, ladies and gentlemen, of the Apex Sport Fest DFC 16. It was a spectacular card. If you haven't already, go pay your $55 or whatever it is to go watch it yourself. You can do that by heading over to Fight TV, of course. It's too late to buy the tickets to Apex Sport Fest.
You can use Rich's login, I think.
Use Rich's login.
Passing them out.
Message Rich directly and he'll get you in to watch it. Yeah, for $5.
Don't tell Ike.
But of course, DFC 17 is already in the planning.
July 2nd.
July 2nd. It's going to be out there the Adelaide Oval, a spectacular event. I think in this case it's a Sunday night. So
Will the jacket be ready by then?
the jacket will be ready. So we'll be
Gold
all
and
ready for
silver
the
or just gold?
Just gold. It's a gold satin. Gold satin, black velvet,
satin.
black buttons, double-breasted. Stay tuned. It's if you're a fan of the podcast, you'll be a fan of the jacket.
Come just to see the jacket.
You should put the jackets in the back of the podcast, in the back of the studio, so we can see
framed.
like this was from DFC one. This is from DFC.
For DCT. Maybe that. We'll
should
work
do it.
on that. Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll stay tuned for that. We'll get a framing guy in to do something, maybe. I don't know.
The framed jackets.
Wow.
And congratulations to all of the winners. Commiserations to all those that walked away with an L on this occasion. None of you are losers in our estimations. You're all warriors for jumping inside that cage in the first place and giving it an absolute crack. And not only have you done so for yourselves, but you've done so for your coaches, your community, and of course all of those people that paid their admission tickets and bought the pay-per-views. And you're absolute warriors in our eyes. So thank you very much for putting your health and at risk for the sake of this sport.
For our entertainment.
For our purely for Rich
really.
to have something to talk about, essentially.
We love you all,
yeah, God bless you all, and thank you very much for tuning into the podcast. If you tuned in for this long, we're deeply grateful, and we'd like
sorry.
to think we are in some part apologetic, but if you haven't already, get yourself some Roll Clean soap. So Kat and Matt from Roll Clean are absolutely amazing. My beard has never been more lustrous. They don't just make soap, though. They make this hand pump stuff now, as well as subs. I don't know if you've used subs at all, but it's like suds, but it's it's more for people that do submission.
Yeah, to
So,
clean your gi or your holding.
The stuff you put in your
It's
washing
like-
machine to clean your gi with.
Instead of suds.
It's like
subs.
detergent, but it's completely organic.
It
And
will stranglehold your stains.
and it'll make you a better grappler.
And if your club doesn't have Roll Clean, you better get on
out.
Facebook and get on Roll Clean and send Matt and Kat a message, and they will come to you. They even go to like clubs and they do
seminars or
little
something.
seminars and
Yeah.
do little chats about don't be the smelly guy.
Yeah, we've got some of those posters just over there for Matt to make note of. They are actually stacked up over in that corner.
They're just in the bin. Thanks,
Yeah,
Matt
they're
and
just
Kat.
they're right there beside the
Believe
Patrick
us, they're
Bateman.
definitely there.
Beside the Patrick Bateman goal, and next to the Reebok pump box. But they are there, and
Put me back on.
there they are.
Oh, that's me.
Where is it? I don't know where it is.
Oh,
There
nothing
we
but
go.
beard.
Where is that? It's over there.
Too close.
Here we go. It's over there somewhere. It's behind the whiteboard.
What's on the whiteboard here?
Oh, that's a whole bunch
That's
of
a
planning and
secret plan.
strategic. So that's how we take over the world with Let's bring it back to this young man over here. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again, Rich Warner, for
Thank you
coming
for having
in
me,
here.
guys.
That was a
Love being
wonderful
here.
15-minute segment.
Thanks for the scotch. I think we should edit this down to like 15 minutes. So hopefully
It was
it's
a
okay.
perfect 15 minutes. It was a perfect 15 minutes. And Hollywood, Matt Connolly, those double biceps. Well, one of them's out. There's the other. There's the other, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you've come to see. That is a double bicep, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm Dave Stockbridge. I'm your co-host, co-breather of air, co-wearer of clothes, etc.
Winner of the Dave Stockbridge
That's right.
Award, 17 and
Come
a
and
half
get it.
years
Come and get
in
it,
a
Damien
row.
Bowler. Come and get it.
Come and get it.
And we'll see you all next time. Thank you.